Neon lights whined like poisonous snakes in the city's fog, and walked down into this office building hidden in the old warehouse. The air was filled with the burnt smell of the coffee machine and the rapid rhythm of the keyboard knocking. He took a deep breath and adjusted the fake Branley Howe, a young man who had just come from the country to join the opportunity. The flames in his heart quietly blew. 2 years ago, his sister was sucked in a similar snatch app and finally jumped off the floor in a desperate situation. The police said it was an accident, but he knew that something dimmer was hidden behind it. Today, he is going to dive in and dig out the truth with his own hands. In the big hall, several lace-up men were surrounding a projector, and an app interface called Jin Feng Investment was flashed on the screen. Qingfu pretended to be curiously approaching, and a fat middle-aged man glanced at him and grinned. "New? Sit, brother, you are teaching you how to make money." The man named Wang Jingfu, calling himself a business manager. Qingfu's extraordinary memory instantly captured his details like a camera: the coffee on the leader and the pattern hidden on the cuffs, a twisted snake, a masturbation characteristic matching the police file. "Come on, look at this one." Wang Chang knocked on the keyboard, and a victim's data popped up on the screen. An aunt in her 50s just invested 100,000 yuan, and the earnings curve displayed on the app rose like a rocket. She thought she bought Bitcoin. Actually we used virtual servers to fabricate data. When she transferred the money in, she would collect the account, saying it was a system failure. After a few more threats, she would just fill the money. A tall and thin man on the side agreed. "Yes." The old man cried and begged us to relieve the money, but we let him get another 50,000 stand funded. "It's great." Jing Yu's fist tightened slightly under the table, and his sister's last message flashed through the sea of his brain. "Brother, this app says it can double, I'll try." He was angry and smiled. "It's so bad that I can learn it too." Wang Chang patted his shoulder, and the smell of sweat on his shoulder came over his nose. Of course, the newcomer got started on the first day. Remember, the victim always believes in the next one. The door of the conference room was open and a group of people came in. Jingshu sat down, his eyes swept over each face. A dozen members, false identity layer slits. His memory palace unfolded instantly, like a three-dimensional map, recording their dialogues, movements, and app screenshots on their mobile phones. The leader is a top man named Chen Zheng, who said with a singular voice, "The meeting will be held today and discuss the next season's goals." "Who will say it first?" A young woman, with the pseudonym Xiaoli, cleared her throat. "President Chen, I attracted 3 large accounts last month, totaling 500,000. It all depends on that fake KOL video." The victim took the hook as soon as she saw the online recommendation. She blinked and was proud of her words. The straightforwardness of the political belief penetrated like a bullet. The color of her nail polish matched the other witness in the file, but her just 500,000 number did not match the report on the projection. The report showed only 380,000. Chen General Chan Mei, "Xiaoli, are you right in this number?" "This is not the case for the report." Xiaoli's face changed slightly, and hesitated. Maybe I remember it wrong." "Oh, I'm busy." An embarrassed silence filled the air, and Wang Chang muttered in a low voice, "Newcomer Li Hao, what do you think? Sisterly won't go wrong, right?" All eyes turned to Jingyu. His heart beat faster, but every detail that had just been played back in his brain, the private notification flashed by Xiaoli's mobile screen, confirmed the transfer money 120,000. Jing Man smiled and said lightly, "Sisterly, I just heard you say 3 big clients, one of which is Mr. Liu from Shanghai, right? The 380,000 yuan on the report should be less than the 120,000 yuan paid by Mr. Liu. I remember that it was a good person. Just when your phone was in contact, I glanced at the notification." He turned on his head, his eyes were innocent. "I'm talking too much?" Little Li's face turned pale in an instant. Chen Qian narrowed his eyes and stared at her. "Little Li, explain it?" She hurriedly said, "Yes, forgot the letter of the letter." Liao's sharp eyes, "Thank you." A laugh broke out in the conference room, and Wang Chang patted Zheng's back. "Boy, it's good. I helped my sisters on the first day." Xing Fu looked stupid on the surface, but his heart felt like he was seriously damn-hearted. This shock resolved his doubts about him, and at the same time exposed Xiao Li's dirty tricks. His straightforward reasoning was like a sharp blade, quietly planning the group's disguise, allowing him to feel the pleasure of IQ pressure for the first time. But it is more vigilant, these people all calculate each other inside. After the meeting ended, Jingwen was arranged to go to the file room to organize the information. Under the dim light, papers piled up like mountains. He searched for the victim's files and kept replaying his sister's face in his brain. Suddenly, a report caught his attention in a messy document, the medical copy of the Accidental Death Case Act. The victim was an investor last month, with the official conclusion, self-kill. Jingyu's heart sank, and he quickly passed the content. The death time tag was 2:15 a.m., but the attached call showed that the victim also called the customer service number at 2:20. Exception. Jing Meng murmured, his fingers slapped the edges of the paper, and the rough touch seemed to remind him that this was no coincidence. The time of death does not match the conversation, and the blood oxygen level in the medical data is also relatively high, unlike suffocation and self-killing. What is even more suspicious is that the customer service number is the virtual line within the group. His memory is like a flash. The report of his sister's death was also similar to time error. The group is in the ward? He quickly took a photo of the report with his hidden mini camera and stuffed it into his pocket. When he walked out of the file room, Chen Zhen, a group younger brother who looked like a man, came over and heard a cigarette. "New, please draw one? I heard you were brought in by Wang Jing." The politician was stunned and observed him. The file showed that Chen Zhen was an internal line, but it was not exposed yet. Qing Yan lowered his voice. "Be careful, the water is deep here. The file room has a monitoring, but you saw that report, did you see it?" Xing Wei was stunned and pointed. "Well, it's unusual." Qing Yan smiled and said, "Don't be anxious, come slowly. I have a line." As night fell, the politician slipped into the washing room and activated the communication device hidden in the soles of the shoes. Wenba's voice came from the headphones, and Xiao Wu was anxious. "Li Hao, confirm your identity." "Successfully entered?" "Yes, Brother Wenba," said Jingdong's low voice, and the ticking of the water dragon around him covered his words. "The group's operations are bigger than expected, and the fake app has been cheated by billions. It was just a meeting that I resolved a small crisis, and they did not doubt me. But I got a report from the French doctor that there was a cat's death case the timeline was not up to." Wenba gasped, "Good. This is a breakthrough. The police will follow here, but don't urge it. Remember, your mission is to collect evidence, not revenge." Xing Shun clenched his fists. "I know. But my sister's case may have something to do with this." At the end of the communication, he leaned against the wall, looking back at the victim's final call record in the sea. At the 2:20 call, he heard the voice clip in the file room. "You cheated on me, and you still want a slap? I've recorded all the evidence." The victim's voice was trembling, and there was a blurred sound in the background, not the silence of the scene, but the echo of the warehouse. Xing Yu's eyes lit up, his footsteps matched the group's old warehouse. Hidden threads emerge. The victim is not killed by himself, but is dragged there and put on the slightest. The flame of revenge is no longer a blind anger, but a sacred sword that turns into a detective. He changed from a younger brother who just wanted to take revenge to the key player who actively pursued the truth. The inner self is as white as a tide. "I can no longer let innocent people die. I want to dig out this tragedy." Push the door of the hand-washing room, and the night wind lingers around the hustle and bustle of the city. Xingyu took a deep breath and decided to conduct in-depth investigation. As the corridor was in full swing, Wang Chang's smile came in a convoy, and he knew that the crisis had just begun. The lights in the corridor are as dim as the old neon lights, and the steps of Jingfu lightly knock on the concrete floor, causing a fine echo. He forced himself to relax his shoulders and pretended to be the first to enter the world of Li Hao, who had engraved every corner of the file room into the memory palace. The gray smell of the document pile, the blue light reflection of the screen, and the folds on the page of the medical report. My sister's face appeared again, looking white and desperate. He gritted his teeth. "I can't stop, I can't." The next morning, Jingfu was dragged into a small partition called Technical Room by Wang Chang. The air is filled with the buzz of electronic equipment and the bitterness of coffee. The wall is full of fake financial posters, and a high-end computer in the central city is flashing with green light. "Boy, come and learn something really good," Wang Chang grinned, revealing his yellow teeth. "This is our virtual identity generator. After the victims got on the hook, we used this thing to prove that they had countered. I'm optimistic." Wang Chang tapped the keyboard and an interface popped up on the screen. Input the victim's name and photo, and the AI software instantly generated a bunch of fake data, bank statements, tax orders, and even virtual social media history. The politics is approaching, and the eyes swept over the code. This is not a simple Photoshop, it is based on the generation of in-depth learning to fight against the internet, and can simulate the behavior of real people. For example, that Mr. Liu, Wang Chang demonstrated, we generated his old account order, showing that he owed his debts in his early years, and then threw it to him when he threw it to the app. "You owe us money, let's talk about it first." The political point is that it is amazing and pretends to be surprised. "Awesome, Brother Wang. I have to learn this high-tech. The heart is as cold as a knife. My sister was cheated on it that year. After she transferred the money, the app showed system upgrade, and when she woke up, she received a contract notice." He remembered her last phone and his voice was trembling. "Brother, they said I owe money. Am I wrong?" That night, she fell from the sun and the police rushed to commit suicide. Now, this generator is like a mirror, reflecting the indifference of the group. Wang Chang patted his shoulder, and the smell of sweat sniffed. "Let's learn, try it in the afternoon. Remember, don't talk too much." Jing Wang smiled, sat in front of the keyboard, operated clumsily on the surface, and recorded each line of code on the interface in his brain. Behind the virtual identity, there is a hidden flow of data. Every time a hypothesis is generated, it will be uploaded to an encrypted server. The first point of doubt, the server IP points to overseas, not a single scammer. At noon, Jing Shu walked into the back stairs with a box of food. The air here was hot and covered with the dampness after the rain. He activated the sole of the shoe and called in a low voice, "ZMO, I am Li Hao. The report has been sent to you. Have you checked it?" Zimo's voice came from the headphones, calmly with anxiety. "Political affairs, received. Death time 2:15, call 2:20, this is an iron certificate. But the blood oxygen data in the report, you are abnormally high. It is not a suffocation to kill yourself." Xingyu leaned against the wall, the iron handrail of the stairs was icy. He closed his eyes and replayed his memory, attached photos of the report, bruises on the victim's head. No rules were like fingerprints. ZMO, details, bruises are distributed on the side of the head, like pinching marks, but the French doctor notes are self-destructive. I remember that the cable position of the scene is not right. His extraordinary memory is like a projector, recreating every inch of the file room. The ink on the paper is different, and the timestamp is changed. Zimo's breathing accelerated. "Okay, I compared the official database. This report was killed. The blood oxygen is as high as 92%, and the self-killing should be below 60%. What's more suspicious is that the toxicology appendix is missing. I have replicated the sample you took and found trace cyanide derivatives. It was not an accident, but was killed after poisoning." The group snatched the victim's mouth to block the victim's mouth. Xingyu's heartbeat is like a drum, and the pleasure of reasoning is like current rushing across the whole body. He murmured, "The bruised fingerprint width matches Wang Chang's hand. I remember the pattern on his cuffs. The snake's head position corresponds to the bruised shape. The scene is not home, but the echo of the warehouse, plus the background noise of the conversation." Zimo said in a low voice, "Yes, the reappearance. The victim was dragged to the warehouse, pinched it and poured poison, and hung it on the snail to take photos. The timestamp of the report was used with a Photoshop layer, and there was a pixel deviation on the edge. I can prove that it was fake here, and the police will file a case. But be careful, this is the first layer, there is more than one hole." The refreshing insight was like a sword being unsheathed, and Xingyu felt that he had pulled his feet out of the quagmire of revenge. In the brain, my sister's image flashed. After she transferred the money, the app was cut, and she cried and called the customer service phone, with the background of the clock at home. But in the second call, the voice changed, as if it was forced to be banned. "Mom, brother, they want me to transfer money again." Her last words turned into his power. "It is no longer a blind hatred, but a clear fire of righteousness. I want to tear this skin for you and for all the victims." The communication was interrupted. Jingyu took a deep breath of the musty smell on the stairs and pushed out the door. In the afternoon, Wang Chang was not there. A small head named Zhang deputy walked in, his eyes as sharp as a keel. He is the second in command of the group and has recorded many cases of criticism in the file. "Li Hao, newcomer. Hearing Wang Chang said that you are sharp-eyed, come and try to generate an identity." Zhang deputy Zhang passed the victim's photo, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes. Jing Shu sat down and danced on the keyboard with his fingers, generating a fake flowing order. Zhang Junfeng was close and breathing hotly. "Boy, how did you know Shelley's money at the meeting yesterday? You saw it with your phone notification?" After exploring the obscure network, Jingwen's heart sank, but he smiled and said innocently, "Part Zhang, I remember, my goodness, since I was a child. I got lost at the time and remembered the road sign and went home. Yesterday, Sister Shelley's mobile phone lit up, and I glanced at it subconsciously. There was no other meaning." Zhang squinted his eyes and stared at the screen. "It is an advantage to remember well, but it is not good to talk too much. Here, everyone's money bags have to be protected." He put it on and patted Jingfu's desk. "Generate fast, this woman is the next goal. Her husband has a guaranteed insurance, and our app will help her invest." Jingfu pointed at him and sneered in his heart, "I've tried it." He deliberately entered an extra unregulated code into the generator to test the reaction. The system did not have a warning, but a hidden prompt popped up: "The back door is in the link." As doubts arise, this app not only quarrels, but also has external data flow. After get-off work, Jing Shuo waited for the embrace in the parking lot. The night wind is filled with the smell of gasoline, and the remote car lights are like ghost fire. Chen Zhen walked over with a cigarette, and a hangman smiled on his face. "Li Hao, draw one? I heard you should be right." The political consultant shook his head and said softly, "Brother Chen Zhen, just tell me." The report from the file room: "I contacted the outside world, it was a poisoning snatch." "Are you an internal line?" Chang'an spitted a smoke circle, and the smoke whirled in the air. "You are smart. I figured it out on the first day." "Yes, I was installed by the police." But at this depth, President Chen, the head of the group, had a big fish behind him. On the mobile phone, I had a channel to follow. The victim's 220 call was not to call our customer service, but to send an overseas number. It implies that external forces are washing money, or something darker. "Be careful, Vice Zhang asked me about you just now, and he suspected the newcomer." Political point: linking the brain, the backdoor program may be the overseas link. Chang'an passed a small paper. "This is my secret, the encrypted app. Use it to contact us next time. Remember, don't trust anyone, including me, the crisis has just begun." He turned away, and his feet splashed on the wet ground. Political affairs: tighten the paper and go to your own broken area. The rain began to fall, hitting the face with a biting cold and harsh cold. He opened his phone, pretended to browse the news, and actually used hidden mode to scan the download package of the group app. Sure enough, there is a backdoor hidden in the deep layer code, a hidden module that can upload victim data to an unknown server at any time. It is not a single scammer, but this link is suspected to be even greater, or perhaps political, or black-clad money washing. Is it hard to get involved in my sister's case? Back at the rental house, Jing Fu lay on the narrow bed, with mold spots on the wall like ghosts. "My heart is indifferent. From now on, I just want to revenge and get angry. Now, every wire is like a spelling. My sister's death is no longer an isolated case, but the tip of the iceberg of this dark empire. I changed, from my younger brother to a key player. It cannot retreat, the crisis is approaching." Mr. Zhang's eyes looked like a wolf sniffing blood. Late at night, thunder sounded outside the window. Jingshu turned over and decided to go deep into the back door of the app tomorrow. Outside the door, there was still a pause in his footsteps, and his heart raced. Someone is following? The survey website has been opened and the first crack appears. The rain fell on the window glass like a broken bead. Jingfu's ears were close to the door, and he heard the sluggish pace on his outside. His heartbeat was still pounding in his chest. He grabbed the old coat beside the bed and groped for the hidden miniature recorder. This was a protection given by Wenba, which now made him feel like a thorn, reminding him of the danger of being in a desperate situation. The outside of the door stopped for a long time, as if someone was trying to find out his existence. Jingyu took a deep breath of humid air and flashed his sister's face in his brain. Don't panic, he has to be more careful starting tonight. Lying on the bed, staring at the cracks on the ceiling, he repeatedly played back the code clips from the back of the app until the sky turned white. On the third day, the office building of the group was like a awake giant beast, buzzing. As soon as Jingyu entered the door, Wang Jin grabbed him, his eyes flashing with a smooth light. Li Hao, did you sleep well last night? There is a big event today. Chen Jingming asked you to participate in a high-end operation. Good performance, double the commission. Jing Yu was excited, on the surface, like a hairy boy, and he was as alert as a knife in his heart. High-end operation? It sounds like the group's ace, and the victims are quite large. His memory palace has been expanded, adding to the rhythm of last night's footsteps, without rules, like deliberately lightning. Maybe it was Deputy Zhang who was supervising. They were taken into a secret meeting room, and the air was filled with the ink fragrance of freshly printed papers and the smell of ancient dragon water. An online sorrow called Elite Investment Circle is projected on the screen, and the participants are more than a dozen VIP customers of the middle-class level. In fact, they are all fish that are raised by groups using fake identities. Chen cleared his throat and his voice was as low as an old fox. This action aims to start with 5 million fish. We use the app to push the time-limited inside story, making them think they can buy hot stocks exclusively. Remember, boil the frog in warm water, give it to Xiao Tian first, and then collect it. The politician was assigned to a telephone group, with a row of encrypted telephones and victim data holders in front of the seat. His mission is to follow customer service, pretend to answer enthusiastically, and actually obtain more personal information. Wang Chang passed the first file. This is Mrs. Zhang, who is 45 years old, and her husband is a small business owner. She voted 200,000 last week and was adding codes. You go up and say convinced her. Xingyu answered, and his eyes swept over the photo. The woman smiles hard and there is fatigue in her eyes. The link in the brain, her phone number was recorded, and she sent 2 messages to customer service on Wednesday night, and her language was from excitement to anxiety. With his golden fingers as flashing, he remembers every detail in the file, including the phone number tail code and the recent exchange time. The sound of the phone was heard, and the voice of Mrs. Zhang was heard with a nasal voice. Hey! Is Genieing investment? Why has my account not updated the income yet? The political pressure low voice imitated Wang Chang's elegance. Hello, Sister Zhang. I am Li Hao, the new customer service. The income is under review. Don't worry, what about the system upgrade? Hearing you consider adding money? We have an inside story. If you buy it tomorrow before the plate opens, you can triple it. He said he hit the keyboard, recording customer feedback on the surface, and actually using hidden plugins to get her conversation records, a series of data flowing like a hidden river flowing into his equipment. Mrs. Zhang said, but my husband said that the risks are high. I have invested in the savings at home. Xingyu's heart sank, and her verbal pattern was played back in her brain. She was filled with endless hope, and her final phone call with her sister was like a twitch. He immediately turned around and said in a gentle manner, Sister, understand. My family has not been there, but this opportunity will not be waiting for anyone. How can I do it? You invest 200,000, and add 100,000, and the total report will be at least 50. Think about the child going to school and the old man is raising his old age. Before he finished speaking, Mrs. Zhang's breathing became rapid. Child. I can't be wrong anymore. But if we ignore it, our family will be finished. Jing Yu's straightforward thoughts are like a warning work. Her language speeds up, and there is a sound in the background of the bathroom. No, the phone noise has echoes, like a high-rise platform. Sister, where are you? How strange is the sound, he tried. Mrs. Zhang choked up and said, at home. I'm a little bit. Maybe I don't believe you. Jing Yu's memory instantly spelled, her address is in the file, the apartment on the 15th floor. Recently, she found that she had searched for self-killing methods. Crisis. The group's routine is to force the victims to disappear accidentally. His brain was filled with moral slashes, he was exposed to great dangers, but let him leave it alone, and he was incompatible with his hands. The inner self is as quiet as a tide. From then on, I only revenge my sister and is isolated and helpless. Now, this woman is like a mirror, reflecting countless broken families. I can no longer be a side viewer, I have to rely on the teams Zimo, Qingzhen, Wenba, they are my backing. He stopped closing the customer service line, switched to hidden mode and hit her real number. There was a backup line in the logs I just got. Sister Zhang. I am Li Hao, not customer service. I know this app is a stolen matter. Don't do stupid things, listen to me. The phone was on the way, and Mrs. Zhang's voice was trembling. How do you know my number? They are going to destroy me. Xingfu said hurriedly, I saw your record, you are Yan. Next. This is a trap, money can be recovered, but only one life is there. Warning, tell them the IP of the Jinfeng app, I have evidence. He said that he sent the data of the call to Wenba, and reasoning in his brain was like a spark. Her self-destructive picture will expose the group's sniff pattern, and he must save people first. Mrs. Zhang cried and said, really? But they said I had a deal and wanted to sue me. Xingxuan said, fake it. Sister, take a deep breath and go into the room and lock it. I promise that the police will look for you tomorrow. After the shutdown, his heart pounded, and his courageous breakthrough surged like a warm current. For the first time, he not only collected evidence, but also took the initiative to save people. The change from an isolated revenge to a protector makes him feel that he is no longer a chess piece, but a chess player. In the office, Wang Chan came over and said, boy, what's wrong? His face is white. Jing Qian smiled and edited, Sister Zhang voted more. But she said, I'll let her rest and say it tomorrow. Wang Chan laughed loudly, smart. Don't rush for a while, the new guy you are the most timid. General Chen glanced from the door and pointed, Li Hao, you're very busy. You have the potential to learn from Associate Zhang in the afternoon. After getting the trust, Jingwen relaxed his voice, but his inner thoughts, saving people exposed the use of plug-ins, and the risks are like shadows. During his lunch break, he slipped into the coffee shop in the back alley, and the aroma of coffee beans in the air was mixed with the smell of earth after the rain. When the communication device was activated, Zimo's voice came, political, I checked the second report. Last month, another victim, the death conclusion was also self-killing, but it was unusually similar, high blood oxygen and missed call time. This time there was a toxicity certificate, a trace amount of sedative mixed cyanide. A murder case. The group system was blocking the reporter. Xingfu held the cup tightly and felt the hot coffee burning hand. ZMO, thank you. I just saved one of Mrs. Zhang's case. She almost jumped off the floor, which matched the report mode. Link. Sisters is counted? ZMO was angry, it's very likely. Data shows that at least 5 the story is similar to death, and the traces of the French doctors are consistent. I will give Wenba a general to promote a reinvestigation. But be careful, the group has a ghost supervisor. The political point is that the inner thoughts are deepening, a person is too tired to fight, and Zimo's analysis is like a light tower, which makes him transform from a lone wolf into a member of the wolf pack. Relying on the team is not a weakness, but a strength. In the afternoon, Chang'an posted a secret number, the back door of the old warehouse, meeting at dusk. Political affairs pretended to work overtime and left. Outside the warehouse, the sun was stained with blood in the red iron wall, and the air was filled with the smell of oil and moist mold. Ching-en leaned against the wall, and the fire of smoking flashed. Come? Let's say, I'll decrypt the call record you've changed. Political pressure is low, Mrs. Zhang's model. When the victims are anxious at peak, they have abnormal external rebates. They point to Mr. Chen's private line, frequently contacting an overseas number, but after the transfer, it is a local political IP. Ching-en's face was solemn and he spits out, I will supplement the details of internal corruption. Chin-e was never the head, he heard of Li, a member of the city congress. The call records show that the group not only robbed, but also slapped money into political projects. Fake investment apps are a cover, actually a channel for collection. When the victim found clues, he quit. My sister's case may have caused Mr. Li's old account. The brain of politics is like an explosion, the original transformation is like thunder, the scale is expanding, from the street to the shady scenes of politics. Memorize every word that Chen Zhen says. The unusual mode of conversation is like picture coding. Mr. Chen's customer service line is actually an encrypted channel, pointing to Member Li's office number. He was refreshingly insightful, but he was confused in his heart. Moral dilemma is like a shackle, and Mrs. Zhang has taken risks to save her, and now she is digging for political circles, and her exposure risk has doubled. But he decided to protect more people at all costs. From isolation to the team, he whispered, Hey, we are in charge. Tell Wenba and expand the investigation. Ching-en pointed out, Okay, but the crisis has been upgraded. Vice President Zhang doubts you. He sent someone to try his hand last night. Today he will watch his skills. The voice fell, and the sound of the engine sounded from afar, and a black car approached. Political thoughts sink to the bottom. The group has seen the difference, the network has been tightened. He and Ching-en slipped away, and in the night, the shadow of the valley was like a giant beast's mouth. Back at the rental house, Jingshu locked the door and leaned against the wall to breathe. The car lights outside the window were swept over, as if the eyes were igniting. My heart was alone. At the moment of saving people, I thought I was still alone. But Zimo's report and the inner story of Ching-en let me see the silhouette of the team. Revenge is no longer a personal battle, but a collective righteousness. The crisis is approaching, but I am ready. Tomorrow, listen deeply and tear the skin of the political world. Outside the door, there is a light knock, and this time it is closer. The sound outside the door was like a ghost's fingertips, knocking on every nerve of Xingyue in the quiet night. He held his breath and focused his mind, pressing his palm on the door handle. The rough texture of the wooden door scraped the skin, bringing a cold sober. Knocking, and then knocking 2 more times, it was as light as the wind shaved across the leaves. He pulled a zither open, and there was only the lights in the corridor outside buzzing, and there was no one in the air. Fantasy? Or Vice President Zhang's trick? The political gate was locked, and the warning in my heart was a big joke. Since the meeting at the warehouse last night, the group's eyes were gone. He grabbed his phone and scanned the fingerprints on the door handle. His plug-in showed that there was a new touch. Not wind, but human. Crisis has become like a shadow. It was just bright and Jingwu slipped out of the rental house. The streets after the rain were as smooth as oil, and the air was filled with the smell of mold and rot from the sewers. He headed straight for a hidden internet cafe, ordered a bitter instant coffee, and sat in the corner. The screen lights up, he inserts a hidden U-disk and starts analyzing the call records he got from the back door of the app last night. Data is like a waterfall. Chen's private line, in the past 3 months, has frequently called a mysterious number open with +86, but IP tracking points to overseas virtual machines. After turning inside, it is locked in an inconspicuous office building in the city center. Xingyu's extraordinary memory is like a search engine, linking the number to her sister's old case. 2 years ago, her last call also reached a similar front. It's no coincidence, he murmured, his fist hitting the table, and the coffee was scattered like blood. Mr. Chen, you and this number have destroyed my house. The coffee shop door was bent, Zhengmo raised his head, and Zimo walked in wearing a mask, and his eyes swept across the surroundings before sitting down. She passed a small hard drive with a low voice. I have read all the data of the politicians. Come on, connect. Their call lines were arranged, and many hot pictures of reports popped up on the screen: blood oxygen curve, toxicological spectrometer, time stamping and adding. ZMO pointed to the red mark. Look at this point, the blood oxygen in the first case is 92%, the second case is 90%, and the third case is, all higher than the self-killing spot. It is not an accident, but it is the forced suffocation after injection of the sedative agent. The cyanide derivatives are consistent, and the dose is accurate. A systematic mouth. The group has a special scavenger group, which specializes in handling smuggling customers. The brain of the political belief is like a picture reversal, and the pleasure of reasoning is like current. ZMO, the call logging corresponds to, before every case, the victim calls the mysterious number and complains about contract. After President Chen took over, the case was found. The same goes for her sister. In the end, she mentioned overseas investment consultants. ZMO pointed his head, his eyes flashing with his professional Xianli. Yes, I compared the DNA to the death, and the bruised fingerprint pattern was similar. At least 3 people were swollen. Wang Chang was one of them, and his pattern matched the skin fiber of the Samoan case. With the popularity of coffee in the air, Jingyu felt that the flame in his heart was stable. It was no longer a blind guess, but a rift with iron evidence. The growing lord quietly opened, and he turned from a revenge who was dragged down by the past to a data-driven detective. Outside the internet cafe, the rain began to drizzle again, and Jingyu and ZMO left separately. He went straight to the group office building and looked back at the past failure. 2 years ago, he first found another hurdle, and he was stolen and swayed, exposing his identity, and was beaten up. That time, he was too impatient and felt like a wild horse was scattered. Now, the crisis is approaching, and he has learned to fail, not activist, but rather push forward. The inner self is as sure as a flash. Last time I was reckless, this time, I won with my brain. At the office building, Wang Chang's smile was like a greasy replies. Li Hao, it's early. At the internal meeting today, President Chen will give you a famous call. Mrs. Zhang's order, he added 300,000 yuan, haha. Xing Wang smiled, the backpack on his shoulder was heavy. There was the monitoring equipment sent by Wenba last night, which was as small as a headphone, which could actually intercept the surrounding conversation. Wenba's voice was still ringing in his ears. Boy, I have adjusted the police technical team, and this equipment can be locked even overseas numbers. Use it to monitor President Chen, and external support will be on standby at any time. But don't be strong and remember the team. In the conference room, smoke was scattered, and Chen's ancient dragon water smelled sour, the pungent smoke grass. More than a dozen members sat around, and the screen flashed last week's professional results chart, a mountain piled up with fake data. Mr. Chen cleared his throat and his voice was deep. Everyone, Li Hao was very successful in the order of Mrs. Zhang last week. But there is a problem. Shaoli, why didn't you tell me about the 120,000 yuan of Shanghai, Mr. Liu? Little Li's face turned pale and hesitated. Mr. Chen, I told Wang Qian. He said he was a record. Wang Chang slapped the table violently, and sweat beads fell from the head. Nonsense. Shaoli, are you tragically? I see you transferring that money from Mr. Liu, but I haven't entered the public account. The air in the conference room solidified, and Deputy Zhang narrowed his eyes and stared at Shaoli. Where's the certificate? Mr. Chen, this ghost is clear. Shaoli cried and said, not me. Wang Chang, you framed me, and you were so fucked last time. Chen Qian sneered. Li Hao, you helped Shaoli on the first day. Now, you are good at remembering. Who is expressing responsibilities? All eyes were like swords. Jing Fu's heartbeat accelerated, but his memory palace opened. On the day of the meeting, Shaoli's mobile phone notified, don't transfer money, pay Wang Zhuang's account. Wang Chang's cuffs and his coffee belt are recorded in full. When he was excited, he stood up and said calmly, Mr. Chen, I remember clearly. Sister Li said 3 big customers that day, and the report was reduced by 120,000. I glanced at her mobile phone and it was transferred to Brother Wang. The notice showed Wang Qian's personal code. But Brother Wang, when you demonstrated the generator in the technical room yesterday afternoon, you complained that public accounts are all paid by yourself. Mr. Lu's pen, is it that Mr. Lu's pen? Wang Chang's face turned blue and said, You nonsense. Boy, do you want to die? He stood up and rushed in, his fist in the meeting room was in a row. President Chen raised his hand to stop him, squinted his eyes and stared at Jingyu. Certificate? Jingyu took out the monitoring equipment from his backpack. It pretended to be a record of the record. In fact, Wang Chang had just recorded the conversation that the equipment intercepted him and called him in a low voice, Boy is bad, I'm sorry for him. He smiled and said, General Chen, Brother Wang has just called the warehouse, I heard it. Li Hao's bad news, sneer, is this a group rule? How cruel is it to fight within? President Chen's eyes flashed, but it was fleeting. Wang Jing, please explain. Wang Jing sat down and murmured, I'm wrong, I'll make up the money. The conference room broke out in a humble voice, and Zhang Shuang snorted coldly, the ghost has cleared 2 of them. Li Hao, sharp eyes are good, but be careful. Jingyu resolved the crisis of chasing and killing, and his refreshing understanding broke out like a heavy punch, smashing the little Lean. His intuition was even more decisive, he failed to teach him and proved to be overly moved. At this moment, he felt as though he grew like a vine, stable and powerful. After the meeting ended, Jingwen slipped into the file room. Chen Zhen was already waiting there, his face as white as paper. Li Hao, you're just the one who is the one you just do. But the power struggle was fierce. Wang Jing fell down, and Deputy Zhang took office. He suspected the newcomer, and his steps were tried by his younger brother last night. Internal information, Mr. Chen heard from Mr. Li, the mysterious number was the private hotline of the party. The group money was washed into the political infrastructure, and the victims found it, so they snatched. Also, Deputy Zhang wanted to swallow the oil and water alone, and the internal struggle would explode. The political point is about, and the brain is connected. Chang'an, the mysterious number, I checked it, it coincides with my sister's case. Maybe. The words were not finished, and the steps outside the door were fast, so he pulled Chang'an and hid in the document cabinet. Deputy Zhang pushed the door in, and the sound was cold. Where's Li Hao? That boy knows too much. Chang'an said softly, run. They flipped out of the back window, and the rain hit his face, which was biting cold. Xing Fu's heart was pounding, running in the mud in the back alley, his shoes were filled with mud. Deputy Zhang's shout followed behind him, catch him. Insider. The crisis continued, and he drew into a narrow alley, flashing through the original reversal. Just when searching the file room, a list of old victims caught his eye, the name of his uncle. 2 years ago, he was cheated by Golden Bow and ended up being depressed. The group affected their own homes, and the motor was like a volcano erupting, not only my sister, but also their uncle's death. Revenge deepened into family justice, and he became even more desperate. He grabbed the trash can on the road and smashed it at the pursuers, turning around the wall. Wenba's voice came out from the headphones, Jingfu, locate you. The police arrived in 5 minutes, hold on. The engine was flying at the end of the alley, and the black car approached. Zhangfu gasped and turned into the market. The noise of the crowd was like a tide of salvation. He mixed into the trunk, sweat mixed with rain and slipped down, and reasoned in his brain, Mr. Zhang's actions proved to be suspicious. While escaping, he locked President Chen's next phone call with the monitoring equipment, directly snatched the mysterious number, secretary, the ghost handled it, and the money continued to flow. The climax burst out, the truth level was opened, the political situation emerged from the shadow of pursuit, and the car was on the roadside. He knew that the crisis was resolved, and the storm just started. Outside the car window, the city's lights are like the eyes of the hunter, flashing endlessly. The tire of the pedestal car slid out of water on the slippery asphalt road, and his chest was undulating like a wind box. The neon lights outside the window were drawn to grow, and the movements of the city seemed to mock his wolf. He groped his headphones and called in a low voice, Brother Wenba, I'm leaving. There are 3 pursuers in the alley, and I remember the black car license plate Jing AX7K89. Vice Zhang is real. Winbaw's voice came out of the headphones, with a rush of smoky voice. Good boy, positioning shows you going northeast. The police team has moved to intercept them. Go back to contact Zimo, she has new discoveries. Remember, don't go back to the rental house, go to the safe house first. The political comments replayed the escape in the brain. The thorns on the wall broke the palm, and the smell of blood mixed with rain reminded him of his uncle's funeral. After the old man was cheated of his money, he always murmured, "What are those investor questions so cruel?" Now, the evidence points to the group, and the flames of revenge are burning more vigorously, but he feels a change. It is no longer an unruly wildfire, but a controllable torchlight that illuminates the way forward. The car parked in a remote and quiet alley in the old city area. The government paid the money to get off the car and dribbled into an inconspicuous homestay. The safe house is arranged by one bay, with air and hot air inside, and old papers are piled on the corners of the wall, dissipating the sour smell of moldy paper. He locked the door and turned on the pen, and the blue light on the screen reflected on his tired face. My uncle's name is on the list of victims in the group. The self-killing records are exactly the same as my sister's pattern. The inner self is like a whisper. From then on, I thought revenge was a one-on-one act, but now I realize that being alone is too dangerous. The team is a shield, and I have to learn to trust them. Zimo's video burst out. She was wearing a blue-eye lens, and the background was the cold white light from the FA doctor's office. Political. I have investigated my uncle's case again. The poison confirmation. All abnormal reports point to a rare derivative, the cyanide-mixing sedative K7. This is not a market, but a military worker, and comes from the black market. It connects the 5 murder cases, including your sister and uncle. The bruise marks are consistent, and Wang Chang and 2 younger brothers start. The group has a special formula, and they can be killed without any tricks. Jing Mo's fist was tightly clamped, and the edge of the wooden table was hitting the palm of his hand. ZMO, how to chase the K7. Does the group server have a formula record? ZMO pointed at the head, and his voice was as professional as a knife. I have verified the blood, the dose is accurate to 0.5 milligrams, and the death is not obvious. The call records show that there is always a safe phone call in front of the vent, and it will be processed after K7. My uncle finally sent a message and called Mr. Chen's private line, complaining that the money is missing. 20 hours later, he died. Political theory, this is a systematic murder, with great power behind it. The video ends. Jing Yan takes a deep breath of the stuffy hot air, and decides to lurk deeper. At 3 o'clock in the morning, he changes into a cleaner uniform and sneaks back into the group's office building. The night shift security is dozing off. He uses the door card given by Chang'an to swipe open the back door. The corridor's fluorescent lights buzz like insect sounds. The server room is on the 2nd basement level. The air is cool like an ice cave. The cabinet's fans roar lowly. He puts on a wig, pretends to inspect. In his mind the memory palace replays the floor plan. Turn right, avoid the infrared, the 3rd door on the left side. The door lock is an electronic code. Jing Yan uses a plug-in to crack it. The green light flashes. He slips in. The server lights flicker like a starry river. His fingers dance on the host. Data streams pour like a flood. He focuses on the mobile phone call encrypted records, a bunch of gibberish packages, marked VIP channel. Come on, Chinzong's dirty things, he mutters. Sweat beads slide down his forehead, drip on the keyboard making a subtle sizzle. The plug-in is decrypting. In his mind flashes fear. If caught, it's over. Wang Chang's fist is still swinging in front of his eyes. But he grits his teeth. The turning point of growth is like steel forged. The last escape taught him, fear is not the enemy, it's a reminder. Face it, I can dig deeper. Suddenly, footsteps sound outside the door. Jing Yan's heart sinks. He shrinks into the cabinet shadow. Zhang Fu's voice is low. Oldly, have you finished patrolling? Chinzong said there's unusual activity. The security guard mumbles, nothing, Zhang Fu. I'm going to the toilet. The footsteps go away. Jing Yan breathes a sigh of relief, continues downloading. The records are unlocked, the first batch is Shaoli and Wang Chang's internal fight calls, irrelevant. But a key one intrudes into view. Chen Zong dials a mysterious number, timestamp after last night's warehouse meeting. He clicks open the voice, the plug-in transcribes the text, Counselor, Li Counselor, this week launder 3 million, into infrastructure projects. App data already encrypted, victims 5, 2 made a fuss, we handled with K7. That old man, uncle? Yes, he discovered the scraps, extinguished him. Next one, 5 million, the political side's engineering funds, all rely on us to transfer. The other party's voice is blurry, but Jing Yan's intuition like lightning, Li Counselor. The reasoning climax bursts, in his mind connects everything, mysterious number IP, city council office, uncle's suicide, the group is not just fraud, it's a money laundering channel for political business collusion. Victims discovered clues, then extinguished with K7. The refreshing revelation like electric shock, Jing Yan's eyes light up, so that's it, Chen Zong is just a pawn, Li Counselor is the mastermind behind the scenes. Readers will exclaim in excitement, this layer of conspiracy like an onion peeled, revealing the rotten core. After downloading, he pulls out the U-disc, just about to slip away, the door lock clicks. Zhang Fu pushes the door in, eyes like a wolf, Li Hao? How are you here? A cleaner? Jing Yan's heart sinks to the bottom, fear like ice water poured over his head, but he looks straight at the other, voice steady as a rock, Zhang Fu, night shift extra work. Chen Zong told me to organize the server, he said it at last night's meeting. The growth turning point breaks through at this moment. In the past, he would panic and run away, now, he bravely faces it, in his mind replays the training, Wen Bo's simulated confrontation. You suspect me? Come, search me. The evidence is here. He hands over the fake work order, eyes not flickering. Zhang Fu narrows his eyes, leans close, breath hot and smoky, boy, you know too much. Wang Chang is down, you take over? But I heard, you saved Zhang's wife. Jing Yan's heart beats like a drum, but courage like a shield, saved? That's business, I advised her not to jump off the building, the money still has to be taken from her pocket. Zhang Fu, enough internal fighting, Chen Zong wants performance, everyone shares. Zhang Fu sneers, pats his shoulder, smart. But remember, this is not a game. He turns and leaves, the door bangs shut. Jing Yan leans against the wall and slides down, sweat soaking his back, for the first time facing the boss. Fear didn't crush him, but made him tougher. Breaking free from the psychological cage, he feels he has truly become a detective. Before dawn, he sneaks out of the building and contacts Chang'an, bro, server data in hand. Chen Zong and Li Counselor's transaction, 3 million laundering, K7 silenced 5 people, including my uncle. What about the vulnerability? Chang'an replies, voice hoarse, good job. Security vulnerability, underground passage connects to the old warehouse, back door no monitoring. At 8 o'clock tonight, I'll clear the way, you go in to eavesdrop on Chen Zong's meeting. He's meeting Li Counselor's contact tonight. Be careful, Zhang Fu is watching you. Jing Yan nods, then calls Wen Bo, data sent, conspiracy outline, political business money laundering, the group is a tool. Reopen uncle's case? Wen Bo sighs, yes, police have filed a case. But don't act alone, I'll organize a small-scale raid, 2 undercover cars, support your breakout. Remember, team first. In the evening, Jing Yan sneaks into the old warehouse, the air filled with engine oil and rust smell piercing the nose, Chang'an waiting in the shadows, come, the passage is here. They crawl into the narrow pipe, knees grinding painfully. Outside the meeting room, Chen Zong's voice comes, Li Counselor's person, money arrived. Next silencing, target is Mr. Sun, he discovered the app backdoor, reporting letter already sent. K7 prepare, tonight's action, Wang Chang's old subordinate to do it. Xing Yu's heart was tightened, and the original reversal was opened, the call record will be displayed together. Mr. Sun, the victim in the file, invested millions last week and was worried. He said in a low voice, Chang'an, Mr. Sun's address? Chang'an spoke his mobile phone, Shinan District, 12th floor of the apartment. Hurry up, I'll hold them. Jingshu rushed out of the passage and headed straight to the son's house. The night wind blew, and he started to fly wildly, and his emotions surged in his brain. Another family is going to be broken? You can't repeat the overriding of your sister. Under the apartment building, two men in black were sneaking, and the political consultant recognized Wang Zheng's old brother. He hid behind the car and called Mr. Sun, "Brother Sun. I am Gene Phone customer service, but I heard me say, don't open the door. They want to harm you, call the police." At the end of the phone, Mr. Sun was panicked. They just came to knock on the door and said, they were just here to knock on the door and talk about the supplement. The background is full of steps. Jingyu, when he was pulled up to the floor, the iron handrail of the staircase was cold. He shouted, "Mr. Sun, lock the door. The police are here." Outside the door, the man in black smashed the door, opened the door, checked the water meter. Jingshua rushed out, and his fist hit one person in the back of the brain, and the other turned around and drew his sword. "Boy, you are looking for death." During the war, the sword was flashing, and a bloody mark appeared on Jingfu's arm, which was as painful as fire. But he was brave enough. He remembered Wenba's genius training and kicked the knife's hand down. "Chang. This is a breath, I have it." Mr. Sun opened his door and his face turned pale. "Thank you. Thank you. Who are you?" Jingyu breathed, "Help. Warning, tell them the link between Mr. Li and President Chen." The emotional depth deepened. At this moment, he saw the hope in Mr. Sun's eyes, like Sister Yaning, and the mixed blood of the sliver of the water. Saving is not a pleasure, but a rescue, which makes him transform from an enemy into a guardian. The sirens from afar rose, and Wenba's small scale suddenly came. Two plainclothes cars blocked the alley, and Deputy Zhang's reinforcements were intercepted. The man in black was stolen. Jingfu sat down on the wall, and Mr. Sun was drifting. "Little brother, your arm." Jingfu smiled, "Little evil. Brother, just live." Wenba got off the car and patted him on the shoulder. "Fuck beautifully. Data and this arrest have reopened all cases." Member Li's tail was exposed, but he would still fight back halfway. Outside the warehouse, Chengyan sent a message, "Is it sleepy?" President Chen's meeting dispersed. Zhang's deputy is in chaos. "See you tomorrow." The political point is at the top. The night sky is sparse, and the city's lights are like a rosy net. He felt that the investigation was halfway through, and the silhouette began to appear, political shady, money-washing chains, and links. But I am afraid that it has become a thing of the past, and courage is like new equipment. The pain in his arm reminded him that he would just get hot in the fight. The sirens were still rumbling around his ears. Jingyu leaned against the police car under the apartment building. The wound on his arm was wrapped in a wile, and the blood was blowing out, stinging like a prick. He watched Mr. Sun being sent to the rescue vehicle, and the middle-aged man's eyes turned from shock to gratitude. "Little brother, thank you. If it weren't for you, my family would be over." Jingshu smiled and felt like a trepidation in his heart. He saved another one, but his sister and uncle couldn't come back. Wenba walked over, patted his shoulder, and sniffed, "Boy, hard." The man in black called him, and was Wang Zheng's old unit and deputy commander Zhang. With data and this arrest, the police can reopen the three-way case. But there is a tight voice on the side of Mr. Li, and he has a quick voice. Political points. The memory palace in the brain opens. The mysterious IP locks the Huashan building in the city center, the covered building of a political lawyer's office. He lowered his voice. "Brother Wenba, the call record points to that. I'll go chase tonight, and the server data has a thread." Wenba's eyebrows, "It's so hard. But okay, I'll adjust the resources. Plainclothes group follow, technical team monitors. But remember, don't fuck." Xingyu nodded and turned away. The night wind blew away the bloody smell, blowing away his fatigue. On the taxi, he contacted Zimo. "What about the report and analysis? Did your uncle's case 7 confirm the pattern?" Zimo's video burst out. She was in the legal room, and the lights were cold and white, reflecting her tired face. "Politics, here is here. Finally, I reported that I compared all 5 cases, including your family. Blood oxygen curves and toxicological splines, all coincided with, after injection of K7, I was forced to suffocate and was disguised. The dose was 0.4 to 0.6 millimeters, the fatality rate is 100%, no obvious external injuries. Link mode iron certificate. Before each trip, the victim talks to General Chin to complain about the back door of the app, afterwards, the snatch. In my uncle's sample, I experienced the fingerprint scanner Deputy Zhang's automatic operation. This is not a random opportunity, it is a scavenger action, blocking the washing certificate. Xingfu's heart sank, and his fist hit his knee. Part 1. Zhang. Why did he attack his uncle? That old man only voted for 100,000. And he was not too arrogant. ZMO was angry. The data shows that his uncle's last email was copied to the police. He was suspicious and asked for political project funds. The group was in a defense report. Xingfu, this scale is large, and behind it is the shadow of Memberly. After closing the video, Xingfu stared at the lights outside the window, and his heart was drifting, the lonely bottom, as if groping in a black hole. Since the past, revenge is only for home. Now, I see clearly that this is a battle to protect countless families. I have the support of the trust team, Zimo's analysis and cultural and museum support are my backing. The Grand Huashan building stands in the city center, and the glass curtain reflects neon lights like a sneer. The politician put on fakes, pretended to send a quick passer, swiped his card to enter the hall. The air was filled with the chemistry of the carpet and the hum of the coffee machine, and he headed straight to the 12th floor of Lee Law Firm. The data of the playback server in the brain, the mysterious number is registered here, and the call frequency is twice a week. The elevator door was opened, and the corridor lights were dim and yellow. He slipped into the tea room and hid behind the cabinet. The remote meeting room came from the voice, Mr. Chen, has the money been washed into the infrastructure? Memberly urgently used it, the project cost is 5 million, and the app data is encrypted well. Xingyu's heartbeat accelerated, and he glanced through the door. President Chen was sitting opposite him, with a man in front of him, and his head was flicked with a badge of the city committee. In the chaos, Xingyu's extraordinary memory is like a light-catching light, the face of a man, matching the file, not Mr. Li himself, but his trust, Assistant Wang. But it turned, Assistant Wang's cuffs were hidden, a twisted snake, which was consistent with the group members. Reorganized searches in the political brain, Xiaoli's defilement, Wang Chang's inner struggle, and the server backdoor all point to dual identities. Assistant Wang is the bottom of the group. He appears to be political, but actually manipulates President Chen and washes money directly to the staff's pockets. The refreshing understanding was like an electric shock. Jing Shu murmured, "It turns out that his head is a double-faced man. Assistant Wang, you have torn the skin." He took out the microphone and captured the conversation. "Mr. Sun's story, has he handled it?" His report was almost a bad thing. Chen smiled. On K7, Deputy Zhang's move. The evidence was burned. Assistant Wang pointed, "Okay, Mr. Li is satisfied. The next chapter, I'm telling the detective, remember that boy? 2 years ago, his sister was in trouble, and we slandered my uncle's report. Keep watching, don't let him slander the situation." The political statement was as if it was struck by lightning, and the original twist was blown up. It was not a coincidence, it was against him. 2 years ago, he just entered the police academy and reported a secret case anonymously. The group found out that his family had quasi-laws in his uncle, and reported potential threats. The motors rise to China, and revenge turns into steel wool. Not only personal grudges, this is the righteous war. I want to burn them. With the pace outside the door, the government turned back into the tea room, and his heart was pounding. The phone vibrates. Chang'an message, in Huashen? Be careful, Assistant Wang is an insider. I have the key to the back door, and meet at the top of the building to get the core data. The risk of betrayal appears. How can Chang'an know the location? Last night, his eyes were hiding. Was Mr. Zhang Badong? Political affairs are hesitant, and they are heart-wrenching. Do you believe in him or just fuck him? But data is the key. He decided to take a chance. I slipped up to the top of the building, and the night wind blew, and the city lights and sea were like waves. Cheng-An leaned against the winding vent and his face turned pale. Come? Assistant Wang's office, the insurance cabinet has a transaction record of the clerks, a complete set of U-discs, a list of washing money in silos. Jingfu narrowed his eyes. Cheng-An, how do you know my position? Deputy Zhang sent you? Cheng-An smiled bitterly and passed the key. Boy, do you doubt me? Last night, I was threatened by Deputy Zhang and said that if I don't cooperate, I will be trapped. But I chose the police. My sister was also cheated to death. This is my battle. Hurry up, the data is inside. I will open the way, you will enter. The betrayal cloud dispersed, Cheng-An pushed the hidden door open, and the two of them entered the Wang's assistant room. The air was hot, and behind the shelf was a metal cabinet. Cheng-An entered the code and pulled out the bullet. U-disc flash. The file inside was like a blow-up, a transfer account signed by Li, K7 formula source, black market military workers, Wuzhou murder photo, including bruises from the sister's head. The political statement plugs in the U-disc, downloads it like flying, and records each page in the brain. 3 million washed into green infrastructure, which is actually a private home for members. After a happy moment, he regrouped the search. Cheng-An, look at this. Assistant Wang's double identity certificate, his snake-shaped body, like Deputy Zhang, is the third leader of the group. President Chen is just a cover, he goes straight to the officer. Cheng-An pointed. Yes, I heard it secretly. Go quickly, the police report is reported. In the download, there was a noise outside the door, and Assistant Wang's voice, someone is blocked. Close the building. They rushed out, and the steps on the stairs were like thunder. Behind Cheng-An Palace, go to the safe exit, I'll take it. Xingwen passed the U-board. Brother, thank you. Team. The words were not finished, and the gun sounded. The security guard started to fire. Cheng-An pushed him. Run. Let's go to Wenba, I'll hold it. Jing-Shun walked down the stairs and smuggled into the crowd of the hall. His heart was like a knife. Cheng-An's back was stained with blood. He drove out of the building and gave Wenba, I got the data. Assistant Wang is the headline, and the consent contacted the iron certificate. Uncle and sister, it is a report to me. Prepare for a big move and surprise the group headquarters. Wenba's voice was urgent. Received. The police task force was moving, 20 cars were blocked, and the old warehouse and Huaxing were blocked. The technical team decrypted the U-disc, and the certificate was shattered. Memberly couldn't run away. But what about you? The positioning shows that you are in the hunting circle. Xingyu gasped and diamonded into the alley, and the rain fell again, hitting the face coldly. I'll take off, connect with Zimo. The inner heart turned and deepened, the loneliness at the bottom was like the night swallowing. But tonight, Cheng-An's life, Zimo's analysis, and Wenba's resources allowed him to see the light. Revenge has passed away, and righteousness will last forever. I am no longer a lone wolf, but a corner of the shield. The black car at the end of the alley was approaching. Jingfu turned around and ran into an ambush. Deputy Zhang led someone to block the road. His smile was cold. Li Hao, boy, you have damaged the big thing. Assistant Wang said, you are a detective. Jingfu stepped back, his arm was broken, and his blood was as follows. Part 1 Zhang, the game ended. The K7's body and the money washed were all exposed. Deputy Zhang sneered, exposed? Catch you first. Jingfu was on the verge of the enemy. Jingfu remembered every face in a fight, but there were no enemies. He fell to the ground with a stick and his vision was blurred. When he woke up, Jingyu was dragged into the group basement, with the smell of iron and damp and mildew sniffing. The light was dazzling, and Deputy Zhang walked. Boy, where's the U-board? Cheng-An's traitor, dead. Assistant Wang asked you to help, otherwise K7 would serve him. Xingshua spat blood and smiled. Part Zhang, it's too late. Wenba is moved, you can't cut off the tail of the officer. The sirens outside the door were in a hiding manner, and the crisis peak, the door lock in the basement, Deputy Zhang's hood, the K7 is flashing with cold light. Xingyu's heart was raised to his throat, and his brain flashed across the team's face. Thoughts are like a knife lying on the top. Are you trapped? The air in the basement was like solidified rubber, sticky and suffocating. The iron lens smell mixed with the pungent chemical odor in the tube in Zhang's hand, making Jingfu's stomach twitch. He was struck on a raw iron chair, and he pulled his wrists into his heart. The scorching pain reminded him of his real coolness. Zhang's face was twisted like a ghost under the dazzling light, with the tip of the pin flashing with the cold light, and approaching. "Boy, where is the U-plate hidden?" Assistant Wang said, "If you take it, you will kill you. Otherwise, this K7 will let you kill yourself like those victims." Jingwen's brain was like a flashing scan. The dose of K7, ZMO said that 0.4 milligrams would die, but he remembered that Zhang's cuffs were just in trouble, and the sleeves were rolled up, revealing an old scar, which corresponded to the bruises of his uncle. Just like a sharp blade, Deputy Zhang automatically passed his uncle. This is not a threat, but a confession. Jingmo took a deep breath and suppressed the panic in his heart. It was exposed. His identity was like a paper-paste lamp, and it was broken with one stab. "But I am afraid it is no longer a shackle, but a fuel." He smiled and said with a sound of a stable voice, "Part Zhang, your scar was caught by my uncle when he was slashed. 2 years ago, the old man discovered that the money had entered Mr. Li's green infrastructure. After you snatched, the scar was not complete." Mr. Zhang's eyes shrank, and his hands were slightly slight. "You, nonsense." Xing Shu continued to spy on the brain, and the memory palace opened, the layout of the basement. When he came in, he recorded that there was a relaxed opening in the corner of the wall, and the old warehouse pipeline was connected to the back. The sirens outside the door were approaching, and Wenba's support was approaching, but he could not wait and had to save himself. Taking advantage of Zhang's distracted, Jingfu suddenly stepped forward. His shoulder hit the snail, and his arms were as painful as fire, but the snail was tilted and he pierced into the back of the chair. He growled, "Your system crime has been exposed long ago. The source of the K7 black market, Assistant Wang's snake figure, is all in the U-wheel drive." Zhang Feng roared and slapped him in the face. The smell of fishy blood spread in his mouth. "Close your mouth. Brothers, drag it out." The two subordinates pushed the door in, unzipped the rope roughly, and pulled him up. Jingyu took advantage of the opportunity to fall down a person and hit the other side's crotch with his knee. The guy fell to the ground. He slammed into the corner of the wall, smashed the opening vent iron network with dusty noodles and moldy smell of rotten nose. "Part Zhang, you can't escape. The police have copied the transaction list of Mr. Li." In a mess, he dripped into the pipe, his knees hurting, and the darkness was like a wild beast swallowing the field. "But directly lead the way, turn left, avoid opening the head, and remember the pipe in the back door of the warehouse." After chasing, Deputy Zhang's curse reiterated, "Stop it. Boy, don't want to live." Xingyu's heartbeat was like a war drum, and panic came like a tide. After it was exposed, the group would chase it to the end, and all his family and old friends became targets. But he gritted his teeth. "Don't panic. Last time I ran away from the alley, I learned to fight with my brain. This time, I fought back." As the pipe was as high as he kicked the iron pipe, rolling into the shadow of the warehouse, the air instantly freshened, scenting the iron lens of the scent of the smudge of the oil. He took out the miniature equipment hidden in the soles of the shoe, the reserved unblocker given by Wenba, and put the U-wheel to save the data. The screen lights up, more conversation records are unblocked. The data flowed into the brain like a hidden river, a passage from President Chen last night's encrypted conversation. "Assistant Wang, the K7 batch arrived, and the black market price of military workers doubled. Memberly said that the next big fish was a relative of the city inspector. He suspected that the money-washing chain was washed, and after the silo, the infrastructure project was stable." External force? Not only the members, but also corrupt officials from provincial governments, whose money flowed from the app to their overseas customers, all of which were project kickbacks. Xing Ye's eyes widened, and the original turnover was like an explosion. External force is not a single political circle, but a corrupt official website. Member Li Jian is just the tip of the iceberg. Senior officials from the provincial government are involved, and the case has expanded into a cross-provincial shady curtain. The group's cheating app is not just a tool, but a national money-washing game. When the victims found clues, they used the K7 system to wipe out the slightest. This is how my uncle's emails and sister's reports all started. The refreshing insight made him tightly, this is the trump card, and the police can play the game online. The engine outside the warehouse was rushing, and the pursuers approached. Xingyu slipped to the iron gate and pushed a zither open. The night wind blew the rain and the face was as cold as a knife. He was about to run away when a figure emerged from the darkness, Chen Zhen. He was covered in blood, his arms were hanging on his shoulders for a while, and his face was white and grinning. Boy, I'm not dead. Deputy Zhang said I'm dead, and he's scared you. I was injured by a gun on the roof of the building and was wiped out. Come on, the team will kill these doglegs. Xing Masao was stunned, and a warm feeling in his heart. He thought he had lost his teammates, and now he's alive. The decline of growth deepened at this moment. The exposed panic was like a slut, and he decided to speed up and no longer hesitated. Okay, brother. The pursuit of the 3 black car, I remember the sign. Behind your palace, I'll cut off the road. They acted separately, and after Cheng Yan walked, he went into the dark car, and the political politician hid behind the pile of boxes. The rain hit the iron skin, crackling like a gun. The first car stopped, and the 2 men got off the car. The raincoat was wet, and the lights stretched out the shadows. Search in the head. Deputy Zhang said, catch the alive. Xingyu's courage was like a fire, and he saw the reasoning position. There was a narrow path in the box. He rushed out, kicked a person with 1 foot, followed by his fist, smashed the middle nose, and blood sprayed like rain. Boy, you! Another man drew his sword and rushed over. Xingyu's side flickered, grabbed the iron stick and beat it back, and shouted at the stick, smashing the blade. The action was exciting. He recalled Wenba's training, turned around and remembered his legs. The enemy fell to the ground, and the rain mixed with blood flowed into a river. He may be gone, and instead is the siege. Facing the shadow of K7, he is no longer a fleeing rabbit, but a killing wolf. Cheng Yan was killed from behind, and the crowbar in his hand was like a flash, smashing the driver. Go on the car. I intercepted their wireless, and Deputy Zhang was calling reinforcements. Jing Shun jumped onto the driving seat, and the engine was bolted, and the car light pierced the rain curtain. In the rear view, the second car chased after him, and the sound of guns started, and the ball brushed through the car window, and the glass shattered like hail. He slid his head, his car slipped, and his tires gripped and showed a sharp slide. Cheng Yan, the UEL data has been solved. The provincial government corrupt officials, and the money was washed across provinces. Memberley was just a small pawn. Cheng Yan gasped and smirked, fuck. It turns out that it's such a big fish. Hurry up, throw them away. The support of Wenba is on the East Bridge. Chasing opens on the streets on rainy nights. The political belief is like GPS navigation. Turn left to avoid the red lights, turn right to diamond the alley. The car body brushes the wall, and sparks are all over the 4 directions. The third car joined and hit the chuck, and the guns were densely filled with beans. Boy, circle. Chen Zhen shouted, and he leaned over and opened the fire. He was holding a gun from Assistant Wang's room, and the other party's car rolled over, smashed into the roadside, and the fire blew into the sky. The refreshing rebellion made Jing Xian's bloody death and bravely broke through the limit. In the past, he was afraid of being exposed like a rat. Now, facing the gun, his determination to speed up the investigation was like a steel iron, and his heart was silent. Panic passed. I was a hero, not a victim. The team is behind and the case is ahead, so accelerate. The bridge lights were brightly lit, and the plainclothes team of Wenbao appeared like ghosts. 5 tiles flashed with hidden lights, blocking the pursuit soldiers' retreat. The gun broke out, and the fire flashed in the rain. Deputy Zhang's subordinates were suppressed and took action. Wenba got off the car, and dripped water from the raincoat, patted Jingfu on the shoulder. Boy, hard. Thank you, you can do it too. Where's the U-disc? Jingfu passed by and gasped, Brother Wenba, all of them are in the head. senior officials of the provincial government, the corrupt network has been expanded. Zimo's determination to prove that the K7 system crime was committed. Winbaugh pointed at the head, with a sharp look. Okay, I have contacted the provincial government project group, and this case has crossed the province. The rescue was successful, but Li Jian was yelling and would fight back. Go back to the safe house and plan a surprise. The team guarded them to evacuate. Jinyu leaned against the seat, his arm wound hurt, and the rainy window slipped like a slight mark. The mobile phone vibrates, Zimo's voice is transmitted. The long-distance link, political, I have monitored your wireless. K7 confirms, all 5 cases, poisonous spectrometers are consistent, the source of black market military workers, and directly leads to a corrupt official from the provincial government, Deputy Director Zhao, who approved the black market smuggling permit. Group System Criminal Iron Certificate, there are still 10 things to be discovered on the lit list. Uncle's scars matched with the deputy fingerprint, DNA has been experienced. Accelerate investigation, you have turned to take the initiative. The political commentator heard it, and his heart was full of tension. Zimo's voice was like a light tower, illuminating the panic haze. He overcame the exposed fear and changed from being a passive bottom to a hero. He was determined to do so, no longer wait for evidence to storm, take the initiative to attack and tear the corruption network. Chen Zhen said in a low voice, "Boy, thank you. I just started working together, it's great." Xing Wang smiled and said, "Brother, team battle. Tomorrow, the king's nest will break into the nest, and the tail of Li Jing will have to be cut." In a safe house, the lights are warm and the bitter fragrance of coffee is everywhere. Winbaugh Guiji map, Zimo video added, the case is expanded, the deputy director of the provincial government is the headline, he used the project to wash money, and the group app is New York. The call records show that Zhao ordered the expansion of the opening and pointed out to all reporters. Political affairs, your direct rescue Mr. Sun, now he is flying to the big fish. The political statement was pointed, his eyes were determined, play. What is exposure? I am not afraid of it. The rain stopped outside the window, the lights in the city were like a galaxy, and the crisis turned into a counterattack. Although the road ahead was in danger, he was ready to shine. Far away, there was no car lights passing by, Member Li's rebellion was already on the way. The lights of the safe house were shady tables, the maps and files piled up like hills, and the air was filled with the bitterness of coffee and the musty smell of old papers. Xingyu rubbed the belt on his arm, and his wound was still hurting. He stared at the temporarily posted chant map on the wall, a city map bought from a convenience store. Red scroll circled the addresses of the group headquarters, Huashan Building, and provincial halls, and the blue line connects the victims' homes and junctions. The IP redirection points recorded in the yellow marking call. Zimo's video screen was still stuck on the pen, and she rubbed her eyes. Political, I have uploaded all the FAO reports. The blood oxygen curves in the 5 chapters are more than 92%, typical disguises after K7 injection. The call records are matched. Before each chapter, the victim gave General Chen, complaining that the money is missing, the data in the back door is leaked. Afterwards, within 2 hours of the opening, the same IP had an encrypted reply pointing to the assistant line of the deputy director of the provincial government. The political point is the head, the fingers are drawn on the picture, the memory palace in the brain is like a 3-dimensional model rotated. The sisters' last conversation, at 1:47 a.m., the background clock sounds at home. The uncles, at 4:20 p.m., the police mailed to the police, claiming the project payment is abnormal. He said in a low voice, ZMO, the GUI is connected. K7 is not a random opportunity, it is a custom-made product precision, avoiding regular drug testing. The back door of the group app not only wash money, but also monitors the victim's chats, and predicts who will be too arrogant. My uncle's email contacted the link, General Chen Assistant Wang Deputy Director Zhao complaint the black market. My sister's case, 2 years ago, she anonymously reported the cheating. The group found my house and reported it to retaliate. As he said, he red-colored a new arrow and pointed it from the police academy records to the scene of my sister's building. The old sun was like a tide, the sound of rain and her crying that night reappeared. His heart sank, but he took a deep breath and turned into force. It's no longer a personal hatred, this is a systematic murder. I have to dig it to the end. Chen Zhen leaned on the chair, with his arms hanging on his belt, grinning. Boy, the picture looks like a detective comic. I chased the car last night, and your legs were exploding. But Vice Zhang ran away, Assistant Wang hid, Deputy Director Zhao was still wandering around the provincial hall. How to divide the team? Wenba held the cigarette in his mouth and spit out, I've coordinated. The provincial hall project group agreed to a large-scale arrest, 50 police cars, sealed Huasheng, group warehouse, and provincial hall building. The technical team hacked into the app server and collected funds. But first, prove that Zimo, you and Chen Zhen went to the black market warehouse and stole K7 samples. Political affairs, you went back to the group to get the decoration, confronted President Chen and the whereabouts of Assistant Wang. I was under pressure from the outside and suddenly broke into the early morning. Zimo pointed, okay, I'll bring the inspection box. Chen Zhen, you are familiar with the inner line. Chen Zhen slapped his chest, no problem, my sister is in charge, and the poison is obtained. Jingyu looked at them and his heart was warm, from the lonely wolf to this, the team was like a family. Chingyan's scars, Zimo's eyes, Wenba's voice are all New Yorkers. He smiled and said, thank you, everyone. The old shadow has suppressed me for 2 years. Tonight, I will turn my strength for my sister and uncle, and for the innocent like Mr. Sunday. Wenba patted him on the shoulder, boy, I'm growing up. Go, remember, use my brain when confrontation, don't be heroes. The night was as dark as ink, and Jing Shu slipped back to the group office building and pretended to work overtime to escape from Deputy Zhang to chase and kill him last night. The lights in the hall were dim and Wang Chang's old apartment was still whispering. He approached and was breathing, brother, last night, Deputy Zhang was in a mess and chased me to the street. Where's President Chen? Is there a job? A little brother glanced at him, his eyes were full of suspicion. Li Hao. You have a great fortune. President Chen is on the top floor, and he started an emergency meeting. Assistant Wang is here, talking about ghost affairs. Xingfu was nervous and connected to his brain. Assistant Wang was confident that he did not show up in the gun last night. As the elevator was lifted, the air was filled with smoke. He opened the conference room, where President Chen, Assistant Wang and several heads were surrounded by tables, and the screen flashed funds were issued to send a warning. Chen Jing raised his head, his eyes like a knife. Li Hao? Where did you go last night? Deputy Zhang said you were in a gangster. Jingshu sat down, his heart beat like a drum. He swept every face, Assistant Wang's lead belt, city council badge, Chen's coffee cup, with the chemistry of K7 bottles on its side, memory capture. He glanced at the server room last night. It was a pleasure to start, and he smiled and said, General Chen, a ghost? Deputy Zhang is in ghost. He chased me through a black car last night, and his guns were all opened, saying, I've ruined Assistant Wang's business. I have a good memory, the number is Beijing AX7K89, what you asked him to open yesterday afternoon, the meeting record, I'll see it when I've flipped through the file. General Chen's face changed slightly, and Assistant Wang coughed, boy, I'm sorry. Certificate? Reasoning in the political brain is like flash, multi-layered decorations. He knocked on the table, Assistant Wang, your cough is like Mr. Zhang, but when you talked last night, I recorded it in the tea room, the K7 batch arrived, and the Deputy Director Zhao was approved by Mr. Zhao. Was it a lawyer? Your IP jumped from the back of the app to the provincial assistant line, and recorded it in the U-disk. Mr. Chen, do you believe him? 2 years ago, my sister reported a small case. You quizzed her conversation, 1:47 o'clock in the house, 2:15, but the blood oxygen of the French doctor is 92%, and the K7 scars are scarred. My uncle sent a message to the police, and you asked Deputy Zhang to attack, and the scar is still there. The meeting room was silent. Assistant Wang stood up, his face turned green. You. Detective. Chen Qian narrowed his eyes. Boy, I'm fine. Catch him. On his head, The political slumbered over the table, and the coffee was covered with hot liquid. He grabbed the chair and hit a man, and played the game in the brain. He said, "Mr. Chen, I can't escape. I washed 3 million yuan and entered the overseas account of Deputy Director Zhao." The certificate was shaking. Assistant Wang pulled out his gun, Zibo wiped his ears, and the wall debris flew. The political politician turned to the door, and his heart turned like a steel wire. The old shadow, the sister's bell and the uncle's scar was no longer a pain, but a rhizome. During the confrontation, he felt that he grew up, from fear of being exposed to the key player who dared to tear the outfit. With a staggering pace outside the door, Deputy Zhang led someone to block the road. "Boy, die." At the same time, outside the black market warehouse, Zimo and Qingzhen squatted in the shadows, smelling mud after the rain. Qingzhen said in a low voice, "This is the K7 storage point, Zhang's private warehouse. The back door is not locked, I'll open it." Zimo wore gloves and backed with an inspection box. "Quick, the sample should be fresh. The call records show that a batch was shipped last night." They slipped in. The air was pungent and chemically odor, and the bottles on the shelves were flashing. Qingyan pried open the iron box. "Come on. K7 bottles, mark the military workers' black market." Zimo took a picture, sucked the liquid in the tube, and his eyes lit up. "Perfect, the spur line matches the 5-line case. I saw the approval of Vice President Zhao on the U-disc, his smuggling permit." Suddenly, the lights lit up. Guarded Shui rushed in. "Who?" Qingzhen smashed a man with one stick, and Zimo grabbed the bottle. "Run. I got the certificate." They rolled out of the window, and guns chased after him. Zimo gasped, "Qingzhen, thank you. How many people have been saved in this new belt?" Qingzhen smiled, "Sister, team battle. Joint politics." During the battle on the top floor, Jingfu was forced to the window, and Assistant Wang's gun was right. "Boy, you have ruined Deputy Director Zhao. The provincial government website, more than 10 officials, all rely on us to wash it." The original turnover opened. A head outside the door was hesitant, and his eyes were hiding Jingfu's memory capture. "This guy, Xiao Lu, had a rustic police line at the meeting last week, and there were marks of police badges on the cuff." Another inner ghost. "Little Lu, are you two sides? The police put it in?" Little Lu pointed his head and pulled out his gun to reverse the water. "Yes. President Chen, it's over." He shot the Assistant Wang's shoulder and broke out in a mess. The political consultant took advantage of the window and the ladder sliding down. When he landed, his knees hit the ground, and it hurt like a bone break. Zhang's team approached, with a wheel of mud and a black hole gun. Political affairs went into the alley, and knew that the rebellion came. The head was in charge. Deputy Director Zhao may have been warned. The mobile phone was shocked, and Wenba's voice was urgent. "Jingfu, positioning." The arrest plan was started, and 50 cars were moving. But Deputy Zhang had an internal response, and someone in the provincial government leaked the wind. Deputy Director Zhao was transferring funds. Xingru panted and ran, and the rain fell again, and his face was cold. "Wenba, Xiao Lu is an internal ghost, he has turned against him. Where are Zimo and the other samples?" Zimo inserted, "Get it. K7 iron certificate, go to the warehouse to merge." Crisis signs. The sound of guns in the back was dense. Zifu rubbed his legs, and blood was flowing down. The political affairs were ruthless. Hit the trash can, rolled into the rind, and stinky water soaked in the body. He gritted his teeth. Old Shadow has the power, the team is behind, and cannot fall. At the end of the alley, Qingyan's car lights lit up. "Get on the car. The little river is stopped, we will withdraw." Xing Qian jumped on, the car was pulled out, and then the fire in the mirror shot into the sky. The police team killed him and blocked the intersection. Wenba wireless radio, the arrest begins. President Chen and Assistant Wang are on the internet, and Deputy Director Zhao is surrounded by Deputy Director Zhao. But the rebellion is fierce, and the ghosts in the provincial government are exposed. Zhao's secret book, and they by Deputy Secretary Zhang. "Xingyue, your picture saved us, and the investigation has deepened." Xingyue leaned on his seat, stained his clothes with blood, and smiled. The team won the halfway point. Sister, uncle, look. The sirens outside the window were like a tide, and the darkness in the city was shattered, but the rebellion was not resolved, and Deputy Director Zhao was still in the flash. The echo of the sirens was still rumbling in the night sky of the city. Jingyu leaned against the back seat of the police-modified car that Chang'an drove, and his bloody shirt stuck to his skin, causing a stinging pain. The streets outside the window after the rain reflected blue lights, like broken lenses reflecting the waves of this war. Wenbo roared in the front wireless phone, General Chen and Assistant Wang have joined forces, and Deputy Zhang's remaining party surrendered outside the warehouse. But Deputy Zhao, the old fox, surrounded the circle. He has no idea there is a ghost in the annex of the provincial hall, and the funds are being transferred. Politically, your U-board encrypted records and the technical team are still solving, keeping a close eye on the final conversation, the source of the mysterious number. The political point is to click the pen and the screen is dazzling. His memory palace was like a crazy wind. The last file in the U-disk marked VIP final channel. After half an hour of conversation, he sent out a hidden IP. The provincial government's network jumped, pointing directly to Deputy Director Zhao's private residence. Suspicion is like a shadow. Over the past 2 years, he always felt that he was not weak, and he was eager to revenge and was born like a shackle. His death was like a shackle, which made him unable to breathe. Why me? Why did the team believe me? But tonight's reversal made him feel a change, no longer a follower, but a core. He took a deep breath of the smell of smoke in the car and said softly, "Brother Wenba, I'm following this message. IP locked Zhao's house, Dongjiao Villa. Zimo, what do you think of the French doctor?" Zimo's video cut in. The background is the shaking light of the mobile inspection vehicle. She was wearing a mask and her eyes were red. Political, Case 7 sample experience. All 5 cases, plus the newly captured two-way certificates, blood oxygen 92%, toxicological sponge, bruised fingerprints, exactly the same. The same hand pen, Deputy Zhang's own medicine, Assistant Wang's shipping. Deputy Director Zhao criticized the blackmail city permit. The full picture of the murder case, not only gags, but also the culprit. The victim list has been extended to 20 people, and the sister and uncle are just opening the door. They locked all the things that touched the washing money, app data monitoring chat, predict risks, and Case 7 resolution. My uncle's email contact link. Zhao ordered the cleaning of the family. Iron certificate. Xing Fu's fist was tightly clenched, and the blood on his knees dried up into pieces. He murmured, "The same hand pen. Zhao, how many families have you destroyed?" He said, "I have doubted myself. Are you a detective?" But Zimo's voice, Wenba's trust, and the scars of his kindness were all pushing him forward. The change of electricity is quiet. From the shadow of self-doubt to the torch of righteousness, he decided to lead this blow. The team heard. I went into Zhao's house alone and cracked the final record. Thank you. You are hurting so you can keep a backup. Zimo, listen to my equipment. Wendy, take the team around. I will decide when the accident occurs. If you can't let him transfer funds, that's the route. Chang'an glanced at him from behind and grinned and felt pain. Boy, are you growing up? Okay, I provide a message. Zhao's house has a backdoor tunnel, and it is a black market warehouse in the provincial government. I used to send the goods as a driver. The secret number is Green Project, but Deputy Zhang is in there and has many guns. Sacrifice? It's worth it. It's my sister, and it's your home. His voice was sandy, his arms were covered with blood, and his mind was sinking. Chang'an's suspicion was like a last try, and his sacrifice made him more sure. The car parked at the intersection of Dongjiao Road. Jingyu got off the car, and the night wind blew the fragrant faces of the pine trees. He put on the night glass and walked into the villa area. My steps were as light as a cat, and my sister's last sound was played back in my brain. I can no longer let innocent people die. I am the leader. The Zhao house is hidden behind the forest, and the gate of the iron slats is like a giant lamp, and the light emits from the floor-to-ceiling windows, reflecting the waves of the swimming pool. The political commentator flips the wall, thorns break the palm, and the smell of blood is hidden. He slipped to the backyard and reported the letter of love. The entrance of the tunnel was hidden under the lawn and was disguised as a drain well. He pried open the door, and the damp and moldy air slammed his nose, and the lights inside were shining like ghost fire. While crawling, the phone vibrated. ZMO said in a low voice, "Political, I listened to internal conversations." Zhao was in the book room and contacted Assistant Wang's party. The final record was encrypted, and the 5 million project payments were washed. Be careful, the thermal imaging showed that the 3 people were guarding the situation. The authenticity is the basement, and the government recommends the opening of the iron door, and the air is hot and the oak smell of the wine cabinet. After he hid in the book holder, the book door was half closed, and Deputy Director Zhao's voice oil was posted. Assistant Wang fell into the network? Humph, there are many ghosts inside. The final conversation record is 3 encryption layers, and the whole picture is the group app washing link, from cheating to provincial warehouse projects, all of which are kickbacks. List of murder cases, 20 people, Case 7 Formula Military Workers Approval Documents, I signed it. Transfer funds, and launch a larger plan tonight. National app upgrade, cheat tens of thousands of customers, and money is directed overseas. Deputy Zhang, guard the server. Xing Fu's heartbeat was like thunder, and he successfully entered the trap. He took out a mini codec and connected it to the hidden end under the desk. The screen lights up, and the encrypted records are like a castle, but he plays the U-disk clip with extraordinary memory, code mode, similar to the back door of the app. He danced with his fingers and cracked the first level. The victim list popped up, his sister's name is listed, and he noted the younger brother of the reporter, the potential threat. Uncle, noted, discover the edge of the project payment. The whole picture is revealed. It is not an isolated case, it is a systematic cleaning, and the official website has more than 10 people, and their money flows from the app to the black market and then goes to overseas accounts. The pleasure burst out, and he murmured, "Zhao, your network has been exposed." The second layer was unveiled, and the transaction records were like floods. 3 million were washed into green infrastructure, which was actually expanded for Zhao's private houses. 5 million projects were paid for, and high-level buildings were purchased from provincial warehouses. Readers will be vigilant, and this layer of sarcasm is like a sarcasm, revealing the corruption of the heart. But the original turnover exploded. The third-level record jumped out, a national upgrade plan that is about to be launched. The fake Bitcoin explosion of app push, with a target of tens of millions of users, expected to cheat 100 million, and the funds directly transferred to overseas customers. Time, at midnight tonight, the server is activated in the basement. Xing Yu's eyes widened, bigger chasing. Untold families will be broken, and he cannot wait. The inner heart is changing, doubt. Go to him. I am the core, the incarnation of righteousness, and I will destroy this plan. He was in danger and approaching his footsteps. He grabbed the U-disk back up on the desk, stuffed it into his pocket, and flicked his head over the team's face. Lead them, I have to pull it. The guard pushed the door and pointed the gun at the right time. Who? Xing Shua rushed out, and his fist hit a man's chin, his bones cracked and his sound was brittle. The guy fell to the ground, the other person opened fire, and the little boy wiped the bookshelf, and the book pages scattered like snowflakes. The politician slammed the archer and pressed his throat with his knees. Zhao. The plan has been exposed, the national app has been upgraded, the police know. Zhao stood up from the sofa, his face turned pale, and he put on a naughty face. Boy, are you detective? Report? K7 service. He pressed the police, the basement door slammed open, Deputy Zhang was inserted, and 5 people surrounded him with guns. The political policy retreats, hits the end, and the reasoning in the brain flies. The server breaks it behind the wall and can stop planning. The guns are dense, and the subgrooves are embedded in the wall, and the dusty surface is covered. The government flicked away, kicked the wine cabinet with 1 foot, the glass shattered, and the wine was slippery. He grabbed the broken wine bottle and hit a man in the eye, and the guy shouted to retreat. Crisis is like a network, and Zhao sneered, Boy, do you doubt yourself? Your family is dead, you can't cut this website. But Xing Yu's courage is as strong as a steel, and he growled in his heart, No, I will lead this battle. After he rushed to the wall, his fist smashed open the panel, and the server was exposed. The fingers inserted into the power line, sparked 4 times, and the system collapsed. The national upgrade plan was interrupted. The readily ruined his blood, and the readers would shout, "Just hit him in time and save thousands of people." In the midst of the silence, the political silence was scarce, and a gun hit the shoulder, which was as painful as a bone. He fell to the ground, his vision was blurred, but Zimo's voice came out from the headphones. "Jingmo, the hot imaging shows the Wungong team for 2 minutes." "Hold on." Chang'an interrupted and gasped quickly, "Boy, after I rolled from the tunnel, the last hit of the story, Zhao's escape passage is at the bottom of the swimming pool, block it." Chang'an's voice continued, "Like the last story before the death, Jingwen was as heartless as a knife. Brother, hold it." He thrust up, grabbed the gun that fell to the ground and shot Zhao in the leg. The old guy yelled and fell down. "You destroyed everything." The outer engine was bored, and the Wenba team rushed. The car door broke out, 20 special police officers were inserted, and the gun was pressed to the control party. Wenbo shouted, "Deputy Chief Zhao, please stop. The transaction records are fully explained, the Case 7 list is exposed, and the continuous murder case is 20 times. And the money is 100 million yuan, all signed by you." Zhao was robbed, his face was gray, impossible. Xingyu sat on the wall, blood flowing, and smiled, "Zhao, the whole picture has been revealed. The revenge of my sister and uncle has been reported. But this is only the beginning, and the provincial government is still there." When Bo helped him up and patted his shoulder, "Boy, the leader is doing well. As he grew up, he went from doubt to the core, and he was incarnated in righteousness." Zimo and Chang'an, "It all depends on you." Chang'an crawled out of the tunnel, covered in mud and blood, grinned, "Is the information accurate? The passage is blocked, and I can't run away." But his legs softened and he knelt down, he was swollen. The politician said, "Brother." The doctor carried Chang'an away, and Zimo's video light flashed. He stopped, and the information saved the overall situation. Although the crisis was resolved, the ghosts in the provincial government were not resolved. Zhao's overseas customers were still moving, and the police were on the far side, and the new round of pursuit had already begun. Political officials stood straight and looked firm. The final conflict, come on. The siren's sharp chime was like the roar of the city. Jingfu stood on the lawn of Zhao's house. The smell of earth after the rain mixed with blood and burns of fire medicine, making his stomach swell. Deputy Chief Zhao was taken into the car by 2 special police officers. The old man's face was as gray as dead, his clothes were covered in blood, and the guns on his legs were still bleeding. He turned his head and glared at Jingfu, and his voice was as if he had broken a box. "Boy, you destroyed my website. But the evidence? Humph, it's all fake." Jingfu didn't look back, and his eyes and words in his brain were recorded into the memory palace. The panic that flashed was not fear, but calculation. The transfer of overseas customers has not stopped yet. Wenbao walked over, dripping water from the raincoat, patted Jingfu's shoulder. "Boy, I'm having sex." Zhao fell on the internet, but his remaining party was in the server room of the provincial hall, trying to figure out how to destroy the data. The 50 cars of the project group have been blocked from the east suburbs to the provincial capital, and the technical team has hacked into the APP host. 80% of the funds were collected. But in the end, we had to take it upon ourselves, Zhao's private end, with the final encrypted record, which proved the money-washing chain of 10 officials in the provincial hall. Zimo and Chang'an were in a medical car behind the scenes and were in a stable state. "Let's go and wrap the building." The political point is that the flame of revenge in my heart is still shaking, but tonight's battle has changed it. It is no longer a wildfire that destroys everything, but a precise torchlight that illuminates the team's path. He got on the car, and the engine was rushing toward the provincial hall like an iron. The lights outside the window are drawn and the city's movements are inverted. The phone vibrates, Zimo's voice is transmitted, and the background is the sound of the medical instrument. Political, I have experienced the blood on Zhao's legs. K7 remains. He has used it himself, and this is an iron certificate, and the certificate is ordered to be silenced. Ching-An wakes up, he has internal corruption details. Consistency, we will arrive. The provincial hall's building is hidden in the night, and the high-pitched glass curtain wall reflects the eyes of blood-red lights. The team blocked 4 doors, and when Ba ordered, the special police were divided into 3 groups, and Zheng Zhou led the second group to penetrate the server room. Zimo and Qingzhen followed me to the main door and presented the certificate. The technical team shut down the internet to prevent self-destruction. Remember, this is the sound of the tail, catch it alive. Zheng Zhou put on the night glass, carried 4 special police officers to turn over the wall from the back alley, stepping on the wet grass, and the air was filled with mold in the sewer and the humming of the electronic equipment. Replaying Zhao's conversation in the brain, Zhao's all fake is a slight statement. His cuffs are engraved with a provincial government special code, matching the UDisk transaction order. The server room is 3 underground floors. The police use plugins to crack the elevator code. When the door slides open, the air is as cold as a knife, and the green light in the cabinet is as bright as ghost fire. There are 3 remaining parties in the front, and the data on the screen is like a waterfall. One of them is finally running a self-destructive program. Red counting time, 3 o'clock. The leader turned around and raised his gun. Who? Xingfu yelled softly, police. Put down the gun. But the other party opened fire. Zifu wiped the cabinet, sparking all over. He knocked down one of his body, knees and throat pressed, and the SWAT followed up with the other 2. During the battle, he rushed to the end, and his finger dance stopped the program. The memory was fully opened, the UDisk code mode was played back, and the password was cracked as like deciphering the game. Data scattered, self-destructed and resolved. The original turnover exploded here. The leader of the bandit pierced and pressed the hidden opening switch, trying to detonate the hot magnetic disk crash certificate, but the political statement was straightforward, remembering that the Zhao's house was similar to the motor. He pulled the power line violently, and the flame flashed, and the shut-off short circuit was shorted. The bandit fell to the ground. You ruined the Zhao's game. Wenba's voice came out from the wireless. Jingma, has the data been saved? We entered the main hall, and Zhao's secret book was in a question. Zhengmo gasped and replied, save it. The full encrypted record was unveiled. Zhao's signature was all in 10 officials from the provincial government, 10 billion yuan in laundering, K7 list of documents. He led people to the main hall, and the lights on the large hall were dazzling. Zhao's secret book, a tall and thin man with a white face, and was scattered on the interview chair. The surrounding special police officers waited. Zimo and Qingzhen had arrived. Zimo's inspection box was opened. Qingzhen leaned against the wall, and his arms were hanging and his eyes were sharp. The secret book, Zhao's letter, named Lu Mi, raised his head and stared at him, and his voice was trembling and squeaking hard. You have no evidence. Zhao is innocent, the app is just investment, and death is self-killing. This is the beginning of the question, and the final word of the head is like a poisonous snake spitting out a letter. Political scholars stepped forward, and their memory was fully opened, and the murder details were repeated like a projector, and the peak of reasoning was opened here. He stared at Lu Mi. His temperament was as stable as a knife. Lu Mi, are you talking about killing yourself? Come, the first thing to do in the rewarming ceremony. 2 years ago, my sister Jingling called General Chen at 1:47 a.m., and the background clock sounded at the wall clock at home, ticking 3 times. She complained that the money is missing, the back door is leaking. At 2:15, the French doctor reported that blood oxygen was 92%, which was higher than the self-killing door, 60% normally lower. The bruise is on the side of the head. The fingerprint is 3.2 centimeters wide, matching Deputy Zhang's hand. I remember his scar, which was scratched by my uncle when he was stabbed. In the same mode, my uncle copied the police by 4:20 p.m., and mentioned the project payment is abnormal. 20 hours later, he died. Blood oxygen is 90%, K7 derivative 0.5 milligrams. Injection marks are on the inner side of the arm, and they are disguised as self-corrosion cables. Lu Mi's face turned pale and sweat fell. Nonsense. The report is official. The political statement was broken, the brain palace opened, and the details were like a tide. Official? Time stamped. The edge pixel deviation was 0.3. I took it in the file room. The call record, at 2:20, she still gave you overseas numbers, the background changed from the clock to the warehouse echoes, the steps were scattered, the three of them dragged. Sister is not. It was a self-killer, a K7 post-kick, and reported to my police academy. You forwarded my uncle's email to Viagra to criticize clean up the family. Last night, when I rescued him, his phone background was in the Taiwanese voice, which matched his sister's building. Your routine was forced to the end, and then K7 was a click. All 20 times, the blood oxygen curve was consistent, and the phone IP was all jumped to the provincial government network, your assistant line. It was a pleasure to burst out. Lumi's ruling, how do you remember this clear? Xing Qian sneered, extraordinary memory, plus direct perception. The last one, Zhao said all fake, but his lockup code matched the UDisk signature, 3 million washing into green infrastructure, actually his private home, 5 million project payments will be directly transferred to your overseas account. App upgrade plan, you will be banned from tens of millions of dollars tonight, 100 million funds, all of which are kickback links. I've broken it, Lumi, your question is over. Zimo stepped forward to prove the medical truth. She opened the inspection box and projected the hot picture on the screen. Lu's secret, see clearly. K7 refrain, military black market goods, Zhao's smuggling permit. Wuxia main case, 20 full case, blood oxygen 92%, toxicology 0.4 to 0.6 milligrams, Bruce fingerprint DNA matching Deputy Zhang, Assistant Wang, Yu. Suffocated after injection, disguised himself. Scars are all in the sky, but blood oxygen is sold to you. I have experienced the sample of my sister. The bruise has the smell of your cigarettes, and the chemistry remains consistent. Iron certificate, this is the system killing. Chen Zhen stood up and exposed the internal corruption. The sound of the sandy mirror, Lu's secret, do you think I am the only one inside her? Group warehouse, I secretly heard, General Chen reported the money washing, you said the provincial government network is stable, Zhao Bureau criticized K7, just gagging. The details of internal corruption, Assistant Wang has both faces, and the snake figure is the group mark. He ships to the black market, you finish. When Wang Chang fights inside, you ordered Xiaoli to kill her mobile phone record. I decrypted it. The 120,000 transferred to Zhao is not a defilement, but your sealing fee. Zhang Scar, I have seen him slap his uncle, you are passing the tube next to him. The corruption is from the beginning to the end, and it is exposed. Lu Mian murmured, it's over, the Zhao Bureau will save me. Wenbo stepped forward and executed the arrest. He threw out the review documents. The locked on the Kazuka, Lu Mian, Zhao is already in custody. 10 officials from the provincial government are arrested. The funds are closed, the offline line of the app, and 80% of the victims are recovered. The murder case is reopened, and the K7 black market is closed. The charges are money laundering, snatching, and system crimes. Take it away. The special police dragged him out, the air in the main hall was relaxed, and the outside of the siren was as if they were fighting. Xing Shu sits on the wall, and his sister's bells in his brain and his uncle's scars flash. The revenge thoughts were as if the old man was falling, and he looked at the team, Zimo's professional eyes, Qing'an's scar smile, and Wenbo's smoke-like voice patted the shoulder. My heart is indifferent. Over the past 2 years, I have been pursuing revenge, like a blind man touching an elephant, isolated and helpless, and have ruined myself. Tonight, this victory is not my own, but ours, the team's shield, which dissolves the shadow. I grew up, from a prisoner of revenge to a righteous guardian. I feel like I am hugging this feeling, no longer hating, only a way out. Wenbo smoked, boy, I'm sorry for the tale. Zhao's overseas customers are still chasing, but the collapse is imminent. The provincial government project is expanding, and the whole country is in contact, and the victims will be fair. Sister and uncle, have you seen it? Xingwen shook his head and smiled, brother, thank you. In the last blow, Zhao's private journal, I remembered there are bigger fish, national engineering kickbacks. But that's the next battle. The sky outside turned white, the city's lights were extinguished, the crisis was resolved, and the dark empire was like a sandcastle collapsed. But far away, a black car light flashed over, the party's rebellion might still hide the last tale. Xingyu stood up, his eyes fixed. "Come on, we are ready." The air in the annex of the provincial hall still had the fishy smell of ignition and sweat. Xingyu leaned against the wall, and his chest was still undulating. The curse sounds when Lumi was dragged away, and the project group was confirmed from the wireless network of Wenbiao. All the main accountants, Deputy Director Zhao's signature documents have been scattered, and 10 people from the provincial government corrupt network were arrested. But the political belief was as straight as a hidden warning, and the source of the last call in the brain was still not interrupted. The encrypted tail end in the U-disk, a signal jumping to a foreign IP, marked final transfer. He grabbed the call, and the data on the screen was still moving. "Brother Wenba, this is not the end. Zhao's private end has the last one from overseas customers, 50 million project payments, pointing to the group's remaining forces, not provincial governments, but higher-level external forces, black market military supply chain." Wenba's eyebrows and smoke turned around between his fingers. "Boy, chase him tightly." The technical team said that the source of the signal was in the old industrial area in the north of the city. It was the backing warehouse of the group, and the hiding place of Deputy Zhang. "Zimo, where's the verification chain?" Zimo cut in from the medical car video, and his voice was quick and steady. "It's done. The K7 military approval documents are added. Zhao's signature and overseas transfer orders, the entire link, app scammer money washing black market poison scatter." The final conversation, after declassification, was one of the group's heads, the gangster who was named Old Ghost. He was in charge of external forces, and the military supply chain directly connects to the national border. If you catch up with him, you can arrest all the stakes, the source of the 20-term murder case. Chen Zhen stood up from the wall, and the belt on his arm was still bleeding. He grinned. "I'll go. Lao Gui's warehouse, I'll deliver the goods as a driver, and the back door is connected to the expressway." The external force is a military smuggling group, and Zhao is just a middle-aged man. When he was in a political opinion, he felt warm in his heart. Chengyan's persistence reflects his own changes like a lens. But he patted Chengyan's shoulder. "Brother, you are seriously injured, so stay behind." I took the special police team to dive in, surrounded by the cultural and museums, and Zimo monitored it. "The team is so loyal, we win this last blow." The teams were flying wildly in the night, and the wheels in the old industrial area in the north of the city were reflected, and the iron odor of the abandoned factory was diamond from the windows, scattered by the sea winds far away. Political consultant took 4 special police officers to get off the car from the back alley. Under the night view, the warehouse was like a black hole, with lights and lights hidden. They crawled over the iron net, and their feet stepped on the gravel and made a crunchy sound. The U-disk data in the brain, the last conversation, at 2:30 a.m., Zhao's voice was blurred. "Old Ghost, the funds have been transferred, 50,000 entered the military chain, K7 has been expanded, blocking all tails." When I entered the back door, the tunnel was as tidal as a tomb. Chengyan's information was accurate. Behind the road was the main hall, and the air was filled with the pungent oil and chemical drugs. The Old Ghost's voice was heard from the inside, roughly like sandpaper grinding iron. "Have you fallen to the internet?" "Humph, the party has responded, and started the B-plan, the app-killing server, pushing the last wave of explosion tricks, targeting 500 victims, and will be launched tonight. The K7 stock has been shipped, and the reported families on the list of 100 lists are clear." Xingyu's heart sank. The original turnover and the remaining strength has not collapsed, they are fighting. Not only the main point, the Old Ghost also planned a large-scale slaughter, and it was urgent to save the victims. He lowered his voice to the wireless. "Wenba, I discovered it. The Old Ghost is in the hall, the 5 parties, the server is activated. Encircle and shut down the network." The special police scattered, the political leader rushed in, and the gun was facing police. "Old Ghost, put down your weapons." The lights in the hall were bright, the cabinet was buzzing, the app interface on the screen was flashing. the victim list was swinging 500 people. The addresses were all in the city, and most of them were side victims like Mr. Sun, who were worried. The old ghost turned around. The man in his 50s had his eyes like a poisonous snake. "Boy, are you that detective? Shall mentioned it and reported the one in your house. It's late, the Plan B has been launched, all the victims are loaded tonight, the K7 team is moving, the door begins." The rest of the house opened fire. The sun was blowing like rain. The political polite body fell down a cabinet. Sparks were filled with sparks. He looked like a phone. The old ghost's eyes flashed to the shelf on the left, and he was ambushed. "Left, rush," he shouted, with a clear judgment, and a hidden party was out and was suppressed by the special police. Climax: chase and explosion. The old ghost grabbed the U-plate and rushed to the authentic tunnel of the back door. Xingyu caught up with him, and walked on the iron ladder to Snake. Zimo in the wireless phone shouted urgently, "Political, I have monitored the movement of the K7 team, the 3 black cars, the target victim's apartment. Certification link collection, Lao Gui's military ID, matches the K7 supply, the source of the call is his overseas hotline, the National Smuggling Network." When Bo's voice followed, "The team is surrounded, I will intercept it. You chase Lao Gui, arrest him, the master is all." The tunnel is narrow, Jingmo's breathing is rapid, and sweat slides into the eyes. The old ghost ran wildly in front of him, his gun was rumbling. He turned around and shot, and Zifu wiped over Jinggu's shoulders, and the blood was sprayed. Jingyu gritted his teeth and accelerated, and he realized that he had made a prediction: as long as there was a fork in the tunnel, the old ghost would turn the highway right. "Ambushes on the right." He growled, and sure enough, the 2 parties rushed out of the darkness, with a flash of sword light. Xing Shu was flickering on his side, and a knee hit a man in the abdomen, and the guy snorted and fell to the ground. He grabbed the fallen gun and shot another person's leg with his backhand, and his movements were as refreshing as electricity. The stylist of the cultural and museum training turned into instinct, and his courage broke through the limit. The panic in the past was like a dream, and tonight he saved not only himself, but the whole chain. The old ghost gasped and bent, and the slander slammed his fist and hit his back, slamming him to the ground. The ground of the iron lens hurts the knees, and the old ghost slams, "Boy, you can't win. External forces, military black market, nothing to do." The political politician pointed at him and gasped, "It's over, old ghost. Your hotline is all in the U-disc, K7 smuggling, 20 traffic, 50,000 money washing, all exposed. Zhao's network is broken, and yours is the same." The old ghost was soft. The party was cleaned up by the special police, and the arrest was completed, and it is responsible for the entire network. Outside, Wenba's team has intercepted the K7 team, and the 3 black cars are rolling around the road, and the flames are scattered. Jingfu rushed out of the tunnel, and Zimo in the wireless phone shouted, "Jingfu, victim's apartment. 500 list, I locked my position, the 12 districts in the east, and there is a long party coming in." The team worked together to smash the anti-corruption campaign. Wenba took the special police to move, Jingfu jumped on the car and headed straight to the east. The rain began to drizzle again, hitting the winding glass like a drum. On the way, he snatched the victim's hotline and his voice was as steady as a rock, "Everyone, this is the police. The Gene phone app is a chaotic bureau, don't transfer money, and lock the police. The K7 threat has been eliminated, we are here to save it." The phone was filled with shock and a woman cried, "Really? Our boss just threw in 500,000, and was anxious." The feeling of satisfaction in his heart, saving many victims is not the pleasure of revenge, but the warm current of protection. In a family like Mr. Sun, dozens of people were taken down in time. The party was arrested outside the apartment, and the K7 tubes were scattered all over the ground. Under the apartment building, the war ended and the special police cleared the grounds. Jingfu looked at the rescued victim, the middle-aged couple, cried bitterly, and the young girl said thank you. Their eyes, like the mirror reflecting sister's absolute hope, turned into hope. Wenbao walked over and patted his shoulder, "Boy, it's all. The external force has been cut off, and the military black market search has reported the national project. The 20-tour murder case has been re-examined, and the money has been recovered 90%. Zmo and Qingzhen came from the car, and Qingzhen turned around. Brother, have you saved 500 people? It's great. You're straightforward feeling, you're ambushing, don't explode. Xingyu leaned against the door, the rain fell on his face, and the journey in his brain was like a painting. 2 years ago, the sound of his sister's wall, the scars of his uncle, the panic of the isolated corner, the exposed crisis, the shield of the team. The flames of revenge burned the shadows, and he was as calm as a lake, from the younger brother who only wanted to claim his vengeance to the hero who led the final decision tonight. I accepted it. This identity is not a burden, but a glory. For family and countless people. Outside the window, the dawn began to appear by the sky, the noise of the city woke up, and the dark empire finally collapsed. But far away, a small number of remaining signals flashed. The national project continued, and he smiled. There is a team here on the way forward. The floor-to-ceiling windows of the provincial hall reflected the floor-to-ceiling windows, reflecting colorful spots, like the scars of the city, and finally the swelling. Xingyu stood in the proof seat, and his shirt cuffs were still hiding the blood of last night, but he stood straight, and his brain was no longer a flame of revenge, but a calm lake. Outside the trial court, the reporter and the victim's family were in a long corridor, with the bitter aroma of coffee and the hum of low words in the air. Deputy Chief Zhao, Lao Gui, Assistant Wang and others sat in the dock rows, with their heads stumbled, their faces as gray as dogs. The judge knocked down the gavel and the sound was like a final song. The defendant Zhao Momo and others are suspected of organizing cheating, washing money, and connecting the air conditioner. The certificate is submitted. Xingyu took a deep breath, Zhang Maxiang in the air sniffed, and he walked forward and pushed the thick file clip to the judge's desk. The medical report of Zimo is inside. The red line of the blood oxygen curve is like an iron certificate, and the K7 toxicology spectrometer is accurate to 0.4 milligrams. The printout of the call record, time to point to each murder case, from the sister's voice at 1:47 a.m. to the uncle's email at 4:20 p.m., the full disk is reproduced. The black market chain of military workers with external forces was also exposed in UDisk data. App fraud covers political links. Money flows from victims to overseas customers, and then buys provincial government officials to build a corrupt empire. The 20 Link murder case is not an accident, but a systematic murder, blocking the reporter and keeping the money-washing pipeline. Judge, Xingyu spoke with a sound as steady as a rock, and the courtyard was silent enough to hear a heartbeat. This is not a single crime, it is a dark network. 2 years ago, my sister Jingling was cheated by the Jinfeng app and she called and complained that the money was missing, the back door was leaking. The background was a wall at home, and she ticked 3 times. 2 hours later, she killed the building. But the French doctor reported blood oxygen 92%, higher than the suicide gate. She was injected with K7, and the silence of the silence was 3.2 centimeters wide, matching Deputy Zhang's hand. That was a report. Our police academy reported a small case. The group found that the project payment was abnormal and he sent it to the police by CC. After 20 hours, he died. Blood oxygen was 90%, K7 was scarred, and he was disguised as a self-destructor. In the dock, Deputy Zhao lowered his head, sweat dripped on the floor, and the old ghost's poisonous snake's eyes flashed with hatred. Political affairs continue. The memory palace in the heart is opened as a painting, telephone recording iron certificate. Before each case, the victim swears General Chen's line and complains about the back door of the app, then, encrypt the return to the provincial government's internal network, your assistant line. External forces, old ghost's military workers provide, K7 smuggling may be signed by you. The group app is not only a waste of money, it is a new year. 3 million yuan has entered green infrastructure, which is actually a private home. 50 million yuan of project funds are directly transferred to the black market. 20-year-old murder case. The innocent people like Mr. Sun should have killed themselves. We saved the families of 500 victims in a timely manner. The truth is revealed, this website collapses. The sound of the lights came out of the court and the reporter burst into flames like a star rain. The judge pointed out, the evidence is sufficient, the defendant is convicted. When Zhao was dragged away, he murmured, "Boy, you won." But Jingfu didn't hear it. He turned to face the house seat, with his sister and uncle's photo there, with gentle eyes. Resurrection of hatred is not a releasing of hatred, but a righteous embrace. The crowd cried like a tide, and his palms were thundering. The reporter shouted, "Hero! Detective Hero!" The refreshing moment was like electric current scattering all over his body, and Jing Yu's eyes were wet. This was the climax, not the bloody revenge, but the city's rescue. A week after the trial, the lights at the headquarters of the police department were brightly lit, and the commendation meeting was as hot as the festival. The air is filled with the sweet fragrance of flowers and the warmth of hot cocoa, and the victims and the police are gathered at a high level. The director walked onto the stage and said, "Today, we commended this team, political affairs, young detectives, extraordinary memory to crack the mystery, Zimo, a legal assistant, and an iron certificate to determine the murder case, Chinrong, an internal hero, a black market chain, cultural affairs, external contacts, and coordination." His voice was like waves, and the four of them stood on the stage, shoulder to shoulder. Zimo blinked and pushed Xingjing. "Boy, your speech is booming." I heard goosebumps when I heard the 92% blood oxygen. Ching'an turned around, his arm was still hanging, and he smiled. "Yes, my brother's story is not in vain. When the old ghost fell on the internet, that looked worth it." Wenbo snatched the cigarette and patted them on the shoulder. "Teen battle, you don't have any of you, my old bones have long since retired. Xingfu, from revenge to guardian, you have changed." Xingfu smiled, his heart warmed like spring wind. "Brother, thank you. Over the past 2 years, I thought I was alone, but you were shields. My sister and uncle were in the sky, and I saw it." They hugged and shouted from the audience. Warm interactions were like the sun melting the shadows. The director gave a note, "Heroes, the city owes you." After the conference, the victims thanked the park lawn, and the sun was on the sandwiches and juices on the picnic table, and the children's laughter sounded like a ginger. Mr. Sun's family walked forward, and the woman's eyes were red. "Officer Xingfu, on that night, you saved my husband with a phone call. Our family recovered 500,000 yuan, thank you." A young girl, the victim of her sister, put on a bouquet of flowers. "You reveal the truth. My mother's death is not self-destruction, but their crime. Social trust has returned, and everyone dares to invest money." Xingfu took the flowers and his nose was slightly sour. "No polite. This is work, for you, and for all families." The family shook hands and hugged, and the fragrance of flowers in the air mixed with the scent of water. "The original turn is gentle here," Mr. Sun said in a low voice. "The police station said that you can be promoted to the position of inspector and sit in the office." The political politician was stunned and smiled. "No, I refuse. The career of the bottom continues, the darkness is still in the corner, and the righteousness will last forever. The city needs guardians, not officials." The crowd was stunned, and immediately heard the sound of the voice, "Hero. Continue the battle." As the sun sets, the political affairs walk alone in the park, the leaves rustling like low words, and the children chase them from afar are swaying. His brain flashed, the neon nights that penetrated the group, the unusual reports in the file room, the guns of the warehouse, and the sound of the trial. My heart was as if I was a little bit of a slight wind. From the young detective who revenges his family to the current urban guardian, I have changed. My sister's bell is no longer pain, but motivation. My uncle's scar is not hatred, but alertness. The warmth of the team and the thanks of the victims made me calm and approve. Righteousness is not the end, it is the eternal road. Social trust is rebuilt, the shadows of scammers dissipate, and the urban movements are brighter. He turned around and saw Zimo and the others waved on the lawn. Wenbo's smoke and smoke were in trouble, and Chang'an's laughter started to sound. Xing Wang smiled and walked away. As night falls, the city's lights are as bright as the galaxy, the story is over, and the legend of heroes continues to move forward.